Hey there, guys. Welcome to Anthony Vlogs. We're Anthony Vlogs. I've got Ray back here joining us.
Hi.
She won't say much, so don't worry about it. But, guys, I asked you guys to ask me questions, and Kirk questions, who is going to be putting his own little spin on things on his side of the planet, you should say. So I'm going to pick the question up. We'll cut to him, see what he has to say. It's going to be a lot of fun. So the first question, of course, is from Kirk himself, Shades at Night. He said, Anthony, how has your week been? If you guys, that's a little bit of callback to the original Grundy days. And so, well, it's been fine. I'd say it's been pretty good. I'm enjoying some time off from work for no particular reason. Ray, how have you been?
I've been pretty well.
That's great. Glad to hear it. So let's go ahead and just cut to Kirk, why don't we, and see what he has to say about this. Okay.
Okay, hi everybody, Kirk here, and I'm on my side of the planet, and I guess I'll answer the first question, which is here, which is asked by Shades at Night, and the question is, how has your week been? And I'd say that my week's been pretty good. It's been good fun. I've also got time off work for no particular reason, and I've just been enjoying that, and yeah. And now I guess I'll go back to Anthony for the second question. Back to you, Anthony.
Alright, cool. Get out of my chair. Alright, I think this cutting back and forth between the hemispheres and whatnot is kind of ridiculous. Let's just bring him on down. Kirk Beatty! Woo!
Hey-o!
So, Kirk.
You've
got a new film coming out.
I lost complete train of thought of what I was saying in that question because I was just like, oh no, what fell over?
Yeah, I knocked into the Transformers, which I think adds to the atmosphere, so it's pretty great.
You know what's pretty great is that before we started recording, you said for me to not move the chair and knock everything over like we did the first time we did this, and you knocked your own stuff over.
Yeah, it's the limitations of the space. It's just really close to like the door, so it happens kind of frequently.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, guys, Kirk is here. We've been having a good time. We didn't want to announce it. We went kind of to play a little close to the vest, and we've been having some good stuff. We went to Six Flags yesterday. This is your first time to Six Flags over Texas here in Arlington, Texas, which is not where we're at now, but that's where the park is. How was it?
It was really good fun.
Yeah.
DC themed rides, which were pretty neat. I like roller coasters, even though I'm one of those nervous people until we actually go on, like until it's properly started. The part where it's like really slow going up to the top, like that's tough for me to deal with, I won't lie. Once it's started and it's just pure adrenaline, you're going at 100 miles per hour, upside down, and things like that. Super fun time. And afterwards it feels great. But yeah, it was a really good time. We had fun. Yeah, it was cool to go to. I've really only been to theme parks in my own country, and then like Disneyland and Universal in LA, or in Anaheim in LA. So yeah, this was really fun to go to a completely new. I've never been to any of the Six Flags, let alone this one. So it was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
And then, this was your second time going to Six Flags.
Yes.
Was it just as fun as the first?
Just as fun as the first.
Okay, well, great. Well, you guys asked us questions, so we're going to go ahead and answer them for you. We're going to go ahead and start with the Instagram questions first, just to make sure we, there were less questions there, and then we'll hop over to, I think we had one Twitter question from Skylar, and then we'll go ahead and get into the YouTube questions, of course. So the first question we have is from, it's the man himself, who's Phil, a friend of mine. He's an artist friend. He actually, this is going to be reversed, of course, but my wallpaper, which you cannot see, you can kind of see it there, is his rendition of a picture of Ray and I as Nightwing and Harley Quinn, and it's been my wallpaper for like a year now, so thanks, Phil. Maybe we'll do. He asked, am I late? I'm assuming is he late to ask a question? At the time, no, you were not. You were right on time, so I really appreciate that. Next question we've got two questions from your brother, the one and only, the Carl Beatty.
The Carl Beatty.
Beatty Carl, as he is on Instagram.
Yes.
So his first question that we have here is favorite comic book run. And since he's your brother, I'll go ahead and let you answer that first.
Okay.
I already have my answer. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I guess in terms of runs, like my go-to is normally the Whedon Cassaday Astonishing X-Men run, because that's kind of my favorite X-Men stuff. But I mean, also at the same time, like the entire Claremont X-Men run, even though it's dated a little bit, it doesn't quite read the same way as modern comics, but it's influential on so much of X-Men, and it's where some of the best stuff comes from. It's where a lot of the storylines from the animated series come from. So
a lot of those new characters as well.
Yeah.
The people that think of X-Men nowadays, as opposed to the original 5, it comes from that era of X-Men.
Absolutely. So my go-to would be those two, I guess. I guess like the Chuck Dixon Batman era of the 90s. Especially with Nightwing, the original Nightwing issues when it became a series. Like, that's
another similar thing to Claremont, where Claremont, you think of an era of X-Men as opposed to just a run. Chuck Dixon was the era of Batman, because he was in charge of Robin and Nightwing and Birds of Prey. Like, that was his universe. It was crazy.
And I guess my only other thing, it's a contained series, but I always say White the Last Man as well. I love White the Last Man. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Ray, do you think you have one right at the top of your head?
Ed Brubaker's Winter Soldier, and then like when the Captain America leading up to it as well.
Yeah. I believe that 100%. Mine's very, very obvious, which I just finished rereading this year, actually, was Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. It's what made me a Green Lantern fan. I read Rebirth, was the first thing I read of his, and I was just so captivated by all the Green Lantern characters, but especially, of course, Hal Jordan. I understood his importance, and I connected with him at a level that I continue to this day. And the final issue of his run, issue 20 of the New 52 stuff, is to this day one of the very few books that's ever brought a tear to my eye when reading it. It's powerful, it's so emotional, and it's another one of those things where post that era of Green Lantern is what people think of Green Lantern. You know, when you tell people, even like casuals of Green Lantern, they may think of the other colors and Blackest Night and all that kind of stuff. He gave purpose to things like just old stuff where you would pull like facts or issues or whatever from the past and go, oh, well, here's the reason behind it. You may not have realized, and it's a bit of a retcon thing, but in this ever-changing world of comics, it fits perfectly. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's, like I said, I feel like if you know me, it's Jeff Johns' Green Lantern. So next question, of course, was again from Carl. We have favorite WrestleMania match. So this is a bit, it can go different ways because one, I've experienced less WrestleManias than you, obviously. Sure. So my go-to answer, because I always think of what are some of the best matches I've ever seen, in person. I understand that's not the question, but obviously we were at a WrestleMania, so that kind of influences a bit. Yeah. When you're there, it kind of, the first ever for this era women's title match, Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha was fantastic. I was blown away by that match. So, I mean, whenever I think of it, that's always one of the first that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's really good. I think this would be sort of in like my top 3 favorite matches overall. The Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels match from Mania 21 in 2005. It was their first match together. That was a really spectacular match. Also on that same show, the first Money in the Bank match is great. Edge, Jericho, Shelton Benjamin, Kane, Chris Benoit, and Christian. So like that's a great match. That's
an all-star list.
Yeah. The Shawn Michaels Chris Jericho match from Mania 19 is a go-to for me as well. The Bret Hart Steve Austin match as well. Like there's a lot, and a lot of people say like the same ones. I feel like, but yeah, and not that I don't want to pick something from current era, but those are sort of the ones I think of.
Well, yeah, like I said, you've been around it a lot longer than say I have. I mean, you've watched one WrestleMania.
Yep.
What was out of that one WrestleMania that you've seen? What was your favorite? Was it the tag title with Braun in the bar? I think that was everybody's favorite.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I mean, I've only seen one. I can't tell like what's a truly good WrestleMania match yet.
Well, Oscar and Charlotte was a good match.
Yes. That is, I was just disappointed by the ending.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
But yeah, that was a really good one as well.
Other matches that I've really enjoyed in recent is the Hardys returning. That
was
tag
super
match
fun.
Was fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, the match we were there for, and I have a photo of on my phone, the Zack Ryder winning the IC title, which was a monumentous moment. So, that's some really good stuff. Another fantastic moment in particular was the first WrestleMania that I watched was the Seth Rollins and Randy Orton match, where he goes for the curb stomp, gets thrown into the air, and then RKO. Beautiful, just beautiful. So yeah, there you go. There's those. Carl, thank you for listening, watching, and just having a general good time.
Thank you, Carl.
Let's move over to my brother, who technically, if you add up the questions across the platforms, asked 4 questions, but he's my brother. So no. He says, will Batman ever beat Superman? To which the answer is no. Because you look at the major times Batman has fought Superman over the years. Like, the one major one everyone thinks of is Dark Knight Returns. And so you have that moment where he's like, I want you, when you're sitting in your easy boy chair, to remember that I beat your face in. And then Superman stands up like, oh no!
Yeah.
So
it's great when that happens in the animated movie. Like, it looks like it just, like, the one man who beat you. Like, it looks great.
Different translation. Yeah. So you had to fake it to make it. So good job on that one. And in the movie, he's got him pinned down, and he could just do it, but he can't. He can't finish the job. Batman can't do anything. The idea of an evil Batman who is like he's determined that he's right all the time and he's evil, that is not nearly as powerful as, say, an evil always right Superman. No, these are on my desk. Because you think of evil always right Superman, you think of Injustice. And that guy just kills everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So if Batman was like, I'm always right and I'm lurking in the shadows and I'm going to get you, but Superman would just come up from the sky and be like, you're wrong. But yeah, I like these figures. Side note, I like them because they kind of show the different sides of DC. If you have these 2 figures together, it shows you can have your super realistic, dark and gritty, and also your goofy, comic book, fun, happy joy.
And yet they still look like they could, I was going to say be together, and then you made them kiss, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, and then you got a Stormtrooper in here, so he can have some fun, and, Anyways, yeah, so there's that. So, what do you think? Could Batman beat Superman?
Well,
real hard?
My thought is when people talk about can this person beat this person, my thought is lock them in a room. Who beats who? Not
room
preparation. You put them in the room.
The room.
Hey, Batman, it's me, your father. I sort of think you put them in a room together, who actually wins? No preparation, no... Oh, if Batman's got kryptonite, he obviously... no shit. If Batman's got kryptonite...
There's just 2 dudes in a room.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Dark Knight Returns. Green Arrow beats Superman.
Yeah, one-armed Green Arrow.
Yeah. So anyone can. It's... put them in a room together, who wins? It's obviously Superman.
Yeah.
Give them preparation, like an actual, a UFC fight. They have a fighting camp, a training camp, and
there's
all
the
preparation in the world. Yeah, who wins? I think Batman is probably smarter, but is Batman going to be prepared for super speed, laser eyes, bam, done?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not going to be. So it's Superman.
Yeah, it's Superman.
Yeah.
There's your answer. So we're going to move on to the YouTube questions now. I'm just going to kind of throw it as they're listed on here. So if it takes a little time for you to get to you, don't worry about it. We're going to answer all of them if I like the question.
You can list them in order of commented.
That's what I mean. I'm showing as they're listed.
Oh, as
they're shown. So
as they
yeah. As they appear on my phone at this time. I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, so
you have a train to catch.
I live by a train. First question we have is from Robo Brando, who has been a long-time follower, so good to have him. I remember seeing him on comicbookmovie.com years ago, so that's great. He asked, what kind of things do the 2 of you disagree on?
Something I like that you don't like, and vice versa?
X-23's Foot Claw.
Yeah, I love the X-23 Foot Claw.
It's stupid.
I remember after Logan came out, and you said to me, I just knew your brain was exploding when the Foot Claw comes out.
The fact that it was, explained.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, actually.
Yeah. Xavier actually takes time to explain it, and I was like, there's a reason. It's great. In the cartoon X-Men Evolution, it was just a silly thing that they did to give her 3 claws, but not be Wolverine. What's something else that I like that you don't?
Not only that, but because there's tons of things that you may like, but completely disagree on. I don't think there'll ever be a point where that crosses over, and I go, what, you're right.
Okay. See, this is hard because this is why we're friends. Like,
Yeah,
we have very similar tastes.
You don't like Wes Anderson movies.
No, I don't know. I can appreciate Wes Anderson. But if you tell me, like, if you said, "Oh, let's watch
Grand Budapest."
I don't hate Grand Budapest. I'm trying to, like, okay, let's watch Rushmore. I'd be like, fuck no. So yeah.
But yeah, that's true. There's not a whole lot that we discern because it's. I mean, Ray, how has it been seeing us together, like in a capacity?
It's like constant agreement. You guys have the same brain.
Well,
so that's how it works.
But it is that because we talk about this, and it used to come across in the show a lot. Like we'll have the same thought to reference something, like whether it's a line of dialogue or a character or something. Like that happened earlier today in something that it was the Emma Azazel Banshee, all dead. Where were you, Charles?
Yeah, exactly.
Something like on TV they were listing something and then we just had those names. You like beat me by a second.
It's on the tip of my tongue. But I feel like that's a good sort of view of like if you're really close with your friend is if you're the kind of people that always are making jokes and stuff like that, and it's one of those situations where it's like you had me, because that happens with the people that I'm closest to. It's always that.
But there must be something else that we disagree on. Like, something like a good example, like a year ago maybe, would have been Last Jedi. Like, not a year ago, like earlier this year.
You had told, because you saw it before me.
Yes, because it technically comes out.
And you were like, I really liked it. I'm excited to see what you think. And then I was like, I didn't like that.
My exact words before you went into were, I think you'll like it. And because in my mind, I was like, oh, the Luke stuff, you'll like all of that.
Yeah.
And
which all the stuff that you thought I would have liked, like the Kylo stuff and Rey and Luke. Like, I do. Yeah. I really do. And the visual effects are great. And that
Poe Dameron becomes a character.
Yeah, the whole opening X-Wing bit, I really enjoy the way it's done. And but it's everything else that I don't... We're not getting into a Last Jedi thing. No. But yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Next question that Robo Brando had is, who would win in a fight between the two of us? How much prep time do we have?
Do I have a fighting camp? Training camp?
I don't have an answer to this.
I don't know.
Me! I win!
That's not true at all.
Out of enjoyment? Like, fight.
Alright, and I won't answer the last question, but I'll show Kirk the last question.
Oh, God.
Next one we have
Falcon. Billy D. Williams. You can guess what the question was.
You're just looking at Billy D. Williams right now.
No, I didn't see that.
So we have Matt W. Hammond. He says Titans go or Titans no. So I guess this is our opinion on Titans, the DC show so far. I say Titans go. I dig it.
I really like it. I've not seen the second episode yet. The second episode happened as I was flying here, so I haven't had a chance to catch up. But I really liked the first episode. When the trailer hit, because I guess this is something we would have talked about in the show back in the day.
Sure.
When the trailer hit, we were both on board for it because we could see what they were doing, like
character-wise.
Yeah, like I think I said on like Twitter at the time, I didn't think the fuck Batman was necessary, but I that's a Dick Grayson thing when he's breaking apart from Bruce and becomes a Teen Titan in different iterations of the character.
Very angry at Bruce, very angsty towards him to the point where why else would he leave?
Yeah, because I mean when you break down the Dick Grayson character, it's like he went from his loving family and this supportive group of circus people to living with Bruce Wayne, and Bruce trains him to be a weapon, whether he needs that or not. Bruce at first thinks he doesn't, then he does. Like, he's trained his whole life to be a weapon by Bruce, and like he didn't truly have a say in it because he was so young. And like he's at this point where he's an adult, and he's like, now I see, through adult eyes what you've done. Fuck Batman.
Exactly.
And then when you see it in the show, it's like, oh, it's justified. Like these, the crooks are all like, where's Batman? As soon as Robin shows up, and they're like, oh, he's all alone. Like, we can take Robin.
Yeah. And then Robin proceeds to beat the shit out of everyone.
Beat the shit out of all of them.
And he looks at his bloodied hands, and it's like, fuck Batman. Like, look what you made me into. I can't normally fight guys anymore. Yeah. I only know... It's funny because you kind of had that with other characters, too. Like, Cassandra Cain. You know, there's so many comics where she like views people with like their weakness points highlighted, and she is like a weapon. And so to kind of see another character kind of adapt that, and just like, I don't know how to normally just take them out. I only know the way to completely immobilize
Dismantle.
them. Yeah, rub their face against glass.
Rub their face against brick walls. Leave the blood.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, because we're all three very Dick Grayson fans.
Yes.
So, the Dick Grayson stuff is really what's selling us so far. The fact that he's the main character and he's kind of had these issues and he's wanting to help, but he's kind of wanting to do it his own way and he's growing as a character, that's what is getting me. And I mean, us two are a bit more of a Teen Titans fan than you say you were. But I mean, I love the character of Rachel Roth Raven, so I'm excited for their sort of almost father-daughter, sort of brother-sister dynamic that they seem to be building.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with other characters. We don't have a whole lot of info on them yet, but it's cool to just get a little taste and see what happens.
When that trailer hit, I remember thinking like, oh, you could have done like a Dick Grayson show and had, you know, like, and Raven still could have been a supporting character in it, and you know, obviously Jason Todd's showing up, like that still could have been a thing that they did, and could have made it more Dick Grayson centric. But at the same time, I look at what they're doing. Like, I like the stuff they're doing with Raven. I was really excited to see Sherilyn Fenn show up because I'm a big Twin Peaks fan, and then she just got shot in the fucking head.
Spoilers, I'm sorry.
I didn't say who she's playing. And
Alfred.
Yeah, and like I'm intrigued by the Starfire stuff. Like, if you were to do like a gritty sort of take on Starfire, you just drop her in, you know, the Earth.
Well, I like this idea of like she doesn't remember anything. You kind of get away with that to kind of have her discover her like identity essentially. So.
Yeah, so I found that neat. And like I said, I haven't watched the second episode yet, but I liked the first one quite a bit.
Any thoughts?
I like a lot of the things they're doing with the show, like to carry on about with Starfire, like her in what happens in the first episode, I won't say, is very much within character, because like there's like, you look at the older comics and she's like, I'm not using lethal starbolts, I'm using my stun starbolts.
Yeah, a lot more in tune with the comic version of Starfire than say the cartoon, which is kind of most people's impression of Starfire is a bit more innocent. And while she is a bit more naive in the comics, which can be very similar, she's a lot more willing to give in to whatever emotion is most necessary at the time. So as opposed to being angry and whatever at the same, it's like, no, just anger, just delight, just whatever. That's how our people are. So I appreciate that touch on the comic book side of things as opposed to just adapting the cartoon, because they could have just done the cartoon and people would have been happy and it just would have been another version of that. But we already got the cartoon. And it's on the DC Universe app as well, so you can watch that.
When you look at, you've currently got, you can watch the old cartoon, you can watch Teen Titans Go, you can watch the Teen Titans Go to the movies, you can watch this, you've got the comics.
Young Justice
coming back. Yeah. Like, you know, you have so many different iterations or versions of the characters to enjoy in different medium. So, like, why not have something like this? Yeah. It's on DC's service, it doesn't have the risk of, we need to do this, otherwise it'll be cancelled, like it's not part of the Arrowverse or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm fine. Just since they've got their own service, make whatever, see what sticks. I like that they're straight away trying something different. And when I say different, like this to me is a reaction to two things, like the tone of the show. It's a reaction to the Netflix Marvel stuff, and it's a reaction to Riverdale.
Yeah, you can definitely see that.
Taking characters that are normally lighthearted, or the versions of the characters that people know are lighthearted, and doing something completely adult with them that the kids probably can't even watch. So I like that idea. And, you know, Riverdale is incredibly popular. I know all over Sydney, there's just tons of advertising for the Sabrina show.
Yes.
Like there's no advertising for Daredevil. There's tons of advertising for Sabrina. So.
Right. And that's your sort of more adult, mature kind of version of it. Yeah. As opposed to the 90s one with the puppet with cats.
Yes.
Probably not going to have that in the new one.
Well, like, Salem's in it, apparently. I don't know if he's
wisecracking and sassy.
I'm disappointed. Like, that in the context of the show would be really funny.
Just an act with the puppet.
Yeah.
There's all these dark and twisted things.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I wish. Next question we have is from the DC Marvel fan guy. He says, "Hey guys, thoughts on Spider-Man PS4?" I would say I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I don't own a PS4, unfortunately. That being said, I did sit down and I watched the cutscenes as a film, as like a almost 3 hour long movie, essentially. And as far as, I can't comment on gameplay or anything like that, but as far as story-wise, it is a breath of fresh air. I think it is a genuinely good adaptation of Spider-Man. I can't say that it's the best. I know a lot of people are kind of jumping at that right now because they feel that there's the need to fill that hole of like, this is a definitive adaptation. But, I mean, I think it's really good. I think they really do a good job of balancing the life of Peter Parker with the trouble of Spider-Man and his personal relationships with Ants and MJ and all sorts of stuff. I think that's really, really cool. It's a different take on the story. Things don't exactly play out the way you would assume, so it's not like it's just like the Raimi series or just like, the comics or Spectacular or whatever. It's its own thing, and I appreciate it for doing that. But it still stays true to the idea and themes and the general characteristics of what this universe should be. So I like it. I'm excited to see what they do next, moving on, because there's a lot of pieces that can be filled in that we may not know about. So if they wanted to take a story in a certain direction, they can. I know they want to build like a universe, because obviously there's things in there that allude to the universe, like Avengers Tower and the Sanctum Sanctorum and Wakanda. But at the same time,
investigations.
Yeah,
Nelson and Murdoch.
That is cool. I mean, obviously, it is cool to see the Marvel Universe connected. I'm not exactly like on the edge of my seat for like a universe game.
No, there's also like they didn't have the black suit as one of the skins because they planned on telling that story apparently and things. So
I would hope so. I mean, because that was a big thing. People were like, "Why isn't the black suit in this?" Because it's one of the most iconic suits. And it's like, well, this is not based on a movie game. It's not anything like that. It's their own story, so if you put that in there, it would probably mess with whatever they're trying to do, and I can't confirm nor deny that, but that's how I play it.
Yeah, it's funny that with the skins that they chose because like you could tell the story of like Ben Reilly or Miguel O'Hara or these other characters that they put the skins in there for, but that's fine. I have played a minuscule amount of the game. I do own a PS4. I just don't have time to play it. I played a little bit at my buddy Tristan's house, and I actually watched the cutscenes of the end of the game, like the day it came out, because not realizing like I didn't know this was going to be anything good or bad. Like it popped up as like. That's why I'm PS4 ending. I was like, I wonder how it ends. And like without even thinking, like it might be something really like intense.
It's genuinely emotional. It's a build up through the whole game to reach this point, and it does a really good job of playing on the Spider-Man story. Yeah,
and funny enough, when I was at my friend Tristan's house a couple of weeks ago, he was at the boss battle of the game, and so I watched him play it, and then saw his reaction to the ending, and like after it, he was like, well, that's controversial. But it's funny because like I really felt it that time watching it a second time.
Right.
So I really like what I've seen of it. Obviously, like in terms of gameplay, I'm not enough of a gamer to really comment on that. But in terms of story, I have really dug what they've done. I like the idea of Mayor Norman Osborn and like mentor Otto Octavius and things like that. I didn't like the idea when I heard the concept of MJ being a reporter because it felt too Lois Lane, but from what I've seen, I do really like it.
It works within the context of the story that they're telling.
It
still fits the character of MJ. She's still her like, I don't need permission by anybody to do what I need to do.
Yeah. Can't you respect me enough to make my own choices?
Yeah, life's a party and MJ's the cake. That's what she is, and that fits
half alive, half of ourselves.
Perfect.
So I do like what I've seen of it. And it's similar, we were talking about this earlier today. I didn't really like the suit the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, that represents that game. Just like, the Homecoming suit represents MCU, the Raimi suit represents that. You've got two suits that represent Amazing, but like, each of them you can say, that's from that.
Yeah.
It's not just...
There's a feeling you get of like, when I see... the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit.
Yes.
The feelings I see with that suit are associated with the film, everything about that time in my life even.
Yeah.
It's like I think about that. So now when I see the PS4 suit, at first I was like, I don't like the white and everything, but now I think, oh, well, I'd like that Peter Parker. He's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'll make sure that works. Sorry, the screen fell asleep
Yeah,
on
you
me.
would have just seen the light go down on us.
There we go.
Yeah.
Should be fine. It happened last time. Okay, guys. So we're going to move on to Ultratron.
Yes.
Ultratron 563.
Long-time commenter, so it's funny, this is one of those names, like, I see it in a, like, registers in my
it,
brain, but I never say it out loud, yeah.
So the question we have here is, Shades, I know you guys don't watch Geek Evolution anymore, because we've obviously made that very public, apparently.
Yeah,
I think I've said it once or twice.
Yeah.
Although it's like a thing, like, news says. Anyway,
Bradley Cooper thinks that Thanos is justified.
Also, Kirk doesn't watch Superhero Rewind. But any chance you'll finish off the Fox X-Men movie commentaries with Cap now that it seems that continuity is going to end with Dark Phoenix and New Mutants?
The reason that we haven't done more of the commentaries is more just sort of... Actually, I don't have a reason, because, like, it's Cap's channel. I always sort of made myself available to do those commentaries or those videos. I think the last time we did a video together, the trailer for X-Men Apocalypse had just come out, which in some ways doesn't feel that long ago, but then you realize that was 2015.
3 years ago?
Yeah. It's just sort of one of those things where we've kind of drifted in different directions, like not this conscious thing of like, I'm not watching or being involved in that channel. Like, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like, they put out a lot of content, and it's not always stuff that I'm that interested in. It's nothing, kind of... Yeah, like I said, it's not a conscious effort to not be involved in the channel. But,
exactly.
like, I will say that they did do a reaction podcast to when Apocalypse came out, and I was not asked to be a part of that. So, it's his channel. If he wants me on there, he can always ask.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
There's no feud or happening. Like,
no, not at all. Like, I think Cap's a really good guy. But yeah, it's just, that's all it is. But I would like to, do a commentary on those films at some time, like Apocalypse, Logan, whenever New Mutants comes out, and Dark Phoenix.
Keyword on when. Who knows? If ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Next question we have is from Andrew Jenk. We have, what's a collectible you want but is too expensive? For me, it's any of those, like... Hot Toys or Sideshow collectibles. They do, like, the statue series of, like, Green Lantern all the time.
Yeah.
And they're always, like, 200 plus.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would love that, but, I mean, I have the mindset of a Marvel Legends collector, so for me, $20 for a figure that has every articulation point imaginable is kind of where I set myself. And so... when I see $150 for a figure that's only twice the size, it can be a bit difficult. And yes, obviously the quality is there, and it's really, really cool to have those kinds of things. But at the same time, my collection just works a little bit differently. Just me personally.
I own a Sideshow Collectibles, which is basically, it was their precursor to Hot Toys. Roger Moore from, I think it's from The Man with the Golden Gun. That particular Bond, which I really like, and then I own a knockoff Hot Toy Daniel Craig, and then I own a knockoff Hot Toy James Marsden Cyclops. So
that's right.
Those are that's the extent of my Hot Toys collection. And a friend of mine that I used to work with, he collects Hot Toys a lot, and he would say, like, when I got those, he was like, "Oh, great, you're gonna get started on getting Hot Toys." I was like,
"Nope,
I'm really not." Like, I have a Cyclops shelf. I collect a lot of Cyclops stuff. That's why I got that. And I like James Bond, and I wanted to have it represented in some way. And so I got those. But I'm not a big Hot Toys guy. I think they look fantastic, and I love looking at them. I think when people have them in their collection and I see them in person, they look great. But if I was like a millionaire, I probably would buy Hot Toys. Like, why wouldn't I? But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a collectible that's expensive. Like, I'm trying to think of something that's old.
Well, for me, I know a lot of the collect and connect figures for DC Universe Classics, like your Gorilla Grodd, your Solomon Grundy, Giganta, especially, even characters like Bane. those are really, really expensive. So those can be kind of tough to kind of hunt down and get a good price for.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is, what are you willing to pay on something? It all depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
So that really kind of hurts on that end.
Like, I have the NECA toys that are big. Are they 18-inch? Is that
Some of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I know, the larger scale ones.
Yeah, I have the Heath Ledger
It's like
Joker.
the size of a child.
Yeah. I have the Heath Ledger Joker one of those, which I got really, really cheap one time, and I thought I was actually buying the 7-inch one. And part of me thinks I did buy the 7-inch one, and they accidentally sent me the 18-inch one. But,
Oops.
so when it came in the mail, I was like, what the hell is this? So I got this lone giant Heath Ledger Joker. So whenever I see the Christian Bale from Batman Begins, I'm like, I should get that. So he's got someone to stand with, but I don't have anywhere in particular for them right now. Like, Joker just kind of hangs out leaning against my wall. So, but so sometime I plan on getting the Christian Bale Batman 18-inch small child sized Batman Begins figure.
I'd say, Ray, I think I know the most recent answer for you. Because,
Hashtag save the Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
Save the Spinosaurus.
Oh, right.
Next question we had from the same person. We've got, what's a comic book run that everyone loves but you don't? For me, it's really kind of simple. It's the Dan Slott Spider-Man stuff.
Oh, yeah.
People really seem to latch on to the even pre and post Superior Spider-Man stuff, and I've read a good amount. I've tried multiple times to get into Slott Spider-Man, and I don't know. I like there's some ideas in there, and there's some of those things where the general sort of concept of it and how we view Spider-Man is kind of represented. And I feel like that's kind of a thing with a lot of modern interpretations of characters that have been around for a while. The people that grew up with these characters are making the things, and so they kind of represent them in a way that it's like, oh, this is how I view it. But it's I don't know, it doesn't always work for me. But I understand a lot of people do like it. I mean, his run was super, super long and only just recently ended. But for me, Slott Spider-Man is just something I've tried and I just can't get into.
That's a good answer. I haven't tried to get into that. Like, everything I know about that series is based on what people have told me or little snippets that I've seen online.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my answer, but I technically haven't read it, so that is unfair. But based on what I know about it, I know I probably wouldn't like it. I know what my taste in Spider-Man or in comics are, and it's not really that. But I mean, I'm not a big fan of Frank Miller Batman.
Right.
Like, I respect Dark Knight Returns and Year One and what they did for comics. Those stories just aren't for me, though.
Right.
And yeah, that's probably my answer.
I feel like I know your answer.
What do you think my answer is?
It would be anything post New 52 Harley Quinn.
Yes.
Like anything from Suicide Squad to Jimmy and Amanda Conner run to her now Rebirth stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like when New 52 first did Suicide Squad with her. There's ideas there that I liked, but like since then it's only gotten worse. I cannot stand it. Probably my other answer is I didn't like the all new Wolverine.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she became too generic Marvel girl.
Yeah.
Of where they're all like, I'm strong, I'm independent. It's like, you can be, like, yes, but, like, why are you all the same?
Yeah. And that's funny. That's something that I guess could be my answer as well, is the Bendis X-Men stuff.
So I was expecting you to say
yeah, like...
I remember when that was coming out, and you're like, I'm not reading this anymore.
There's stuff in it that I kind of like, but it was one of those things where you had to read All New X-Men and Wolverine at the X-Men. Was one of them Uncanny?
Uncanny X-Men was the one with, like, Scott and Emma and Magic and Magneto, that one.
Yes, so I think I wasn't reading Wolverine and the X-Men. I was just reading Uncanny and All New. 3 guesses why. And but then there was also events that were going on with those characters in Wolverine and the X-Men, I think. So I wasn't really keeping up with that. And they did stuff in that book, like the thing with Iceman. Like that's something that a lot of people do. Like representation in comics is very important. There are gay X-Men characters,
They had a wedding.
They had a wedding. Like one of the first like comic book covers to have same-sex kiss. You know, like X-Men has always been on the forefront of, you know, change, like diversity and inclusion and things like that. But changing a character's sexual orientation is one thing, sort of saying like, young Iceman is confused and is gay, and now these events have now changed. Like, you can maybe say that.
But that's not how it was written.
No, it wasn't. And for adult Iceman to just be like, you know what, I guess I've been gay this whole time.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like,
that whole conversation is really gross, because it just feels like, one, it's a classic Jean Grey invasion of personal privacy, where she's like, hey, you're gay. And he's like, I'm not ready to tell people that.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to accept that within myself. But she was very aggressive about it.
Yeah.
Being like, you're gay, that's who you are now.
Yeah.
Stop lying to people. And it's like, is that how you want to represent those characters? Like, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
Like, a certain X-Men director on the set of X-Men 3. It's like, is that where you want to be connected to?
Yeah, how similar are those events? Holy crap. So Jean Grey is Brett Ratner in this universe.
Yeah. Like, don't out people. It's not your job to out someone else. Like, it's their decision. So to have that whole scene of him being like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, and like my thought is always like, instead of just changing a character just to make it look like, look, we're representing you now. Yeah. Like, create a new character. Like, that's all.
Which
like
they've done.
Yeah. Like, because I guess my thought is like, if someone reading X-Men for the first time discovers Iceman and likes, you know, reading him the way he currently is, and they're like, I want to go back and read some Iceman.
Yeah.
You're going to find him dating Kitty Pryde. You're going to go watch the movies. He's dating Rogue. Like, it's not. It's going to be a completely different character.
You can't read any of the original 60s stuff because all four of those boys, well, except Scott.
Look at that dame.
They're all every single one of them is just like, hey, Jean Grey, wanna fuck? And she's like, no, I want to fuck Scott. And he's like, I have to run the X-Men show. The professor's away.
Yeah. Even Professor X is like, I can never tell Jean that I love her. Like, that's just
You're right, you can't.
Yeah, you can't, you pedophile. So I didn't like that. I didn't really like how adult Scott was always written. Yeah,
there was no turnaround for that character.
No, so I really became disenchanted with X-Men at that time, and but a lot of people seem to really like that stuff. It's not for me.
So the last question we have from Andrew is going to be, you let the devil in, so how was it?
I didn't like it.
Ray, how would you describe the devil in?
It's a guilty pleasure. I love it.
All right, next question.
Hold on. Let's talk more about this.
No.
I do want to say there's certain things that I like in it. I really love Tom Hardy as an actor. He's also a producer on this as well, which has got to be
great for him.
An interesting position to be in. But
got those big bags with the dollar signs on.
There's stuff in it that I like. The Venom song. Yeah, the Venom song. I was going to say the Eminem song. Eddie Brock is you, and I'm the suit, so call me.
Listen to that song a lot. It's hilarious.
Yeah, when we saw the original trailer, we were like all on board for it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I sort of feel... I kind of feel like, why didn't I see this coming? Why did I let myself... the devil in.
As we stated, it was one of those things where I felt this way since the beginning. If it's good, that's great.
Yeah.
If it's bad, it's just another bad Sony movie.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason we felt so strongly about this is because the end of last year is when those Fox and Disney rumors started.
Yes.
And Sony was their last defense at making movies that weren't exclusively Disney.
Yes.
And so now it's like, oh, fuck. Who cares anymore?
Yeah, like... Venom has made enough money that there may very well be sequels now.
Yeah, it's doing really well. It was number 1 2 weeks in a row. So it's Sony's highest grossing movie in Russia. That's an actual fact.
Russia!
This is all your fault, Russia. Like when the Rotten Tomatoes score came out, I was like, this ain't getting any sequels. Like, they announced 2 and 3, and it's just like Amazing Spider-Man 3 or Sinister 6. It's going to be, DOA now.
Yeah.
it's made enough money that it may not be. It just depends if Tom Hardy still wants to be involved, which I could see him not wanting to be, because if you watch him in those interviews, that might just be him not liking to do interviews. But,
which is a pretty common Tom Hardy thing.
Yeah, but he might also just be like, he might have seen the movie and just been like, I should have left it at the 1. But, yeah.
So there's Venom. I think it's hilarious.
If I was in a cinema that was laughing at it or with it as well, I might have that reaction. Cinema was dead silent except for a couple of the lines that were intentionally meant to be funny.
Right.
So
I had a good time. Okay. We're going to move on to the next set of questions we have from Tom Anderson. Who do you think is the most misunderstood superhero by the fan base? I would say Spider-Man, as too many seem to think he's essentially Deadpool, all jokes and quips. What are your... okay, that's the first question. So, yeah, Spider-Man is a huge one, obviously.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, we have a particular version of Spider-Man that we enjoy. And, of course, across 50-plus years, you're going to have that. You're going to have different opinions of what Spider-Man means to people. It's understandable. But I think all the major superheroes, as far as, like, the big posters, I mean, Batman, Superman, all of them, they reach this point of, like, Superman.
Yeah.
Perfect example. People think like, oh, he's boring because he's overpowered and you
can't do anything with that.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, but have you looked into anything Superman? Because everything about the good Superman stories is all about the person. It's about the person behind the powers. He does things like you and me, just on a bigger scale. And so, especially I would highly recommend that anyone go check out the Rebirth era Superman stuff, because it's him as a family man. He's married to Lois, he's got a son who has superpowers, and he's trying to kind of teach him to be a good person as well. I recommend that stuff because it puts him in such an interesting way. On top of that, you do have fights with Cyborg Superman and Metallo and Lex Luthor, and you have those fun, action, exciting beats with the character who's the most human character in the DC universe. So yeah, really, it's just any of those major people. Spider-Man, for sure. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is a really good answer. Depending on what era you got into Spider-Man, you have a certain opinion of him. Same with Superman, same with Batman. Like earlier, I mentioned, I'm a fan of 90s Batman, and not a lot of people are. Like, a lot of people bring up all the 90s era in comics. It's always the worst.
They think of, like, remember how long his ears were in Azrael? And it's like, but the 90s were 10 years of comics.
Yes, yeah, it's a really a long period of time. Like, I'm a product of like, Shadow of the Bat, for example, and not a lot of people like that run. But I grew up on it, so I have an appreciation for it. Same... Some people grew up on 60s Batman, which is completely different from Nolan Batman, which is completely different from, it's ever-changing, Some kids grew up on Brave and the Bold, the cartoon,
exactly.
So Spider-Man, similar thing, although I would like to think that it's like, 60s, Stan Lee, Ditko, or... Ramita, like Spider-Man, I love, and Raimi Spider-Man, I love, and 90s cartoon Spider-Man, I like. Spectacular, obviously. It's like, I sort of look at those as similar iterations of the character that I like. Another good one to me is Cyclops. Like, people sort of see him as, he's the boring X-Man, everyone hates him, he's the leader.
Same people think same about Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
he's the boring one, because he's just the leader guy.
Yeah. Scott is a character who has to make the tough choice. With this group of X-Men who are, a collection of runaways and strong personalities and, people from all different walks of life and, once again, talking about diversity, like, people from different countries, have different beliefs and things like that. And someone has to be in charge of that. Someone has to be the captain of that ship. Otherwise, it's going to run amok. It's going to be all over the place. Scott is the one who has to make the tough choices, and a lot of people see him as like, he's a dickhead. Like, he's the one that has to choose. Like, he left, for example, in the cartoon, he's the one who left Beast and Morph behind. Right. It's like, someone had to make the choice to save the rest of the team.
Because otherwise we'd all be dead.
Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
Cyclops is the one. Like, you see those clickbaity titles and videos and that are like, the reason why Scott Summers is the most hated character in the Marvel Universe. And it's like, and once again, depending on who you read, like what writer. Like, Grant Morrison writes a Cyclops that I don't like all that much. Same with Bendis. So it depends what Cyclops you read.
Right.
To me, like, Whedon and Brian K. Vaughan and Brubaker and Matt Fraction all write a Cyclops that I like. Stan Lee as well. Obviously Claremont. Like, he's a character that's got a lot of depth and has got a lot going on. And that's why I've always dug him. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just say probably again like current era Harley Quinn. Like,
great answer. Yeah.
I mean, it's also partly the fault of the comics themselves. Of like, oh, she's just our Deadpool. And it's like, that's not what she was.
Her current arc is a fourth wall breaking type story right now. That's what's going on in the comics at this time. And I can only assume that's because in another completely different book, she's being involved in a sort of tragedy-esque story of heroes in crisis, so they want to kind of balance that out. But you're right, she's very much a Deadpool wacky character who is their sort of scapegoat for anything that they want to do with that kind of style.
Yeah.
I mean, so it is, like, just when we were at Six Flags, we saw the promotional art they had for her was roller derby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me?
Yeah, we were sort of talking about how a lot of the versions of the character that we see around are like the basic ones that you would find in like a sticker book or something that's like...
something you slap on promotional stuff, mugs and stickers.
Yeah, the most common version of the character, like, Batman is generally going to be sort of grey suit, black symbol, black cowl or blue cowl.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be a very general Batman. That Superman is going to be like that figure. Is going to be big symbol, blue, the yellow belt, red trunks.
Yeah, Joker's purple suit, green hair, nothing crazy. No,
it's not going to be a Heath Ledger Joker or a Jack Nicholson Joker. It's not going to be Suicide Squad. Whereas Harley is now this interesting thing where you would think it would just be 90s animated series, Harley, just a suit. Now it's going to be that, or it's going to be something that looks kind of like New 52, or kind of like
Suicide Squad,
or Arkham, like
some sort of jacket, or like
And I was having this conversation with Tristan the other day, like trying to pinpoint the moment where Harley became what she is now. And, like, to me, it's like the origins of it are a little bit in the Azzarello Joker book, where she's like a stripper.
Yeah.
And then, to me, it's like Arkham Asylum. Like,
that was the first time they were able to kind
Harley.
of give, like, a twist on it. They didn't have to do the original version, so they were like, okay, well, let's do something a bit different. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, so we can finally do something different with this character? All right, well, fine, let's get to work.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, calm the fuck down.
Is like that sort of how you see it? Or?
Yeah, it's just like, it was forgivable. It's like, because it's like, well, the nurse costume fits with
the setting.
It's a Paul D written story.
Yeah.
It's the creator of the character. It works within the context of that. But
which
everyone else saw it as like a chance to jump in.
Yeah, which I can say I don't agree with everything about her original conception of like her sleeping her way through college and whatnot. I like the idea of she actually is smart, but Stockholm syndrome can happen to anyone, and that's why she has this beautifully tragic story, and now she's just, I'm wacky Deadpool, and
Yeah, I really don't like the idea of just her being such a huge adversary to a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. There should be a grade level.
It's funny to me how, like, the big three DC characters have always been Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Suddenly, like, Harley is, like, in the top 4 or 5, depending on, like, maybe Joker is number 4 in terms of, like, the fame of certain characters.
As far as villains go, she's definitely, like, absolutely up there. Cause
she gets plastered on all sorts of stuff now. So, And similar with Deadpool, like, everyone on the planet knows Deadpool now, which is crazy to think. Like, everyone, in the Marvel Universe now, like, in the early 2000s, if you were to put together, like I said, like a sticker book or something like that. Like, I have the encyclopedia that was sort of printed in the early to mid 2000s, where, like, on the cover, it's the usual suspects of, like, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Iron Man, Cap, the Fantastic Four.
Right.
And
because during that time, who had cartoons, who had movies, who had TV shows, where it's like, oh, well, people know who the Hulk is, not automatically.
Hulk,
know Spider-Man, the X-Men.
Yeah.
You weren't going to see some of the characters right now, like Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel.
the Guardians of the Galaxy.
They would not be on these books. But because nowadays, it's like, oh, yeah, well, everybody knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. Slap them on.
You would put Groot, you would put Rocket Raccoon, because everyone knows who they are. And same with Deadpool, same with, like I said, Doctor Strange. Like, these are all characters that everybody knows now, which is kind of funny. Like, you know, you go back to 2000, like, who would have predicted? X-Men were one of the most popular comic book properties.
They saved them. Spider-Man and X-Men helped save the Marvel Universe.
Exactly. And, you know, the 90s... Jim Lee, you know, X-Men #1, the animated series, the X-Men movie. It's like this 3-punch thing where it's like X-Men, the biggest property that Marvel have besides Spider-Man, except Spider-Man is more famous just pop culturally.
Yeah. Well, they're so popular that the people making the Spider-Man X-Men books left and made their own company.
Yes.
Which, that exists now.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what we were saying earlier about like having the same brain. And so it is kind of funny now to think like Deadpool and Harley Quinn are like 2 super famous characters now that can represent the company. Yeah.
So next question we have is still from Tom Anderson. We have, what is your favorite movie theater going experience?
A go-to to mine is often when I saw Avengers 1.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Marvel Marathon that...
Back when we had midnight showings and things, where it's like you had to be
This is literally a couple of months before the shooting, sadly, in Colorado, which ended midnight showings. I went to the AMC Marathon where they showed all of the Phase 1 films back when that was all there was.
It was plausible to go and be like, I'll see all the Marvel films.
Remember when the first Avengers film was like, man, how are they going to put all these characters together? There's going to be 6 main characters. What? That's too many. You know?
Oops.
Yeah. So that was great. It was people who were passionate enough to see all the films.
Yeah.
So, you know, in some ways, like, Iron Man 1 was, even though it had only come out 4 years ago, there was, like, nostalgia for it because we'd had so many films since where, like, certain moments got, like, a cheer, like when Iron Man first appears, that money shot of him in the giant suit.
Yeah.
That was a great experience. Watching Avengers 1 in a cinema that passionate was great as well.
Oh, yeah.
And something that... I believe I've told the story before, but for those who haven't heard it, Incredible Hulk didn't get shown for some reason. Like, Iron Man 1 played, there was a little bit of a break. Each film got introduced by Coulson. And Incredible Hulk didn't get played, and instead the guy came out and was like, we're having a bit of a problem with Incredible Hulk, so we're going to go straight to... Sadly not Coulson, a representative from AMC, came out and said, we're going to go straight to Iron Man 2, and the people cheered. And I was like, I didn't think people liked Iron Man 2. That's kind of funny. And so we watched that. I went out to get more popcorn or food or something, and then my friend texted me saying, Thor's starting now. And I was like, oh, shit. So went back to Thor, and then after Thor, they said, we're really sorry, we've got a problem, we can't show Incredible Hulk. Crowd boos, which was really funny. It was like I was in a wrestling crowd, and and then they said, "What we're going to do? We're going to give everybody a free ticket, a free pass for anything, and we're going to show Avengers early before midnight." Crowd roars. Like, everyone was so pumped for that. My friend was gone at the time, and he came back, and I said, they can't show Hulk, so they're going to show Avengers early. They're going to show it twice. And he's like, oh, so we can leave after the first one. I was like, no, like, not unless it's awful. Like, we can watch it again. So that was great, watching it twice. Like, watching it immediately after is not something I would normally do ever, but that was really fun. Certain bits that I missed because everyone was laughing.
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you how many times it took viewing of the Avengers to hear what Hulk says after he smashes Loki.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The third time around, like, oh, puny god. Now we all know, but in the theater, it's an event.
It's like when Tony pokes him with the little zapper thing. He goes, ow, and he's like, looks at him. Like, everyone was laughing at that, and everyone missed the line of, what's your secret? Yoga? Huge bag of weed?
Yeah.
Second time I saw it, like, I was in LA, and everyone, like, cheered the weed line. And I was just like, all right. And, yeah, so that was something. But yeah, that was a good experience, even though we didn't get to see Incredible Hulk, which I kind of wondered, was that intentional? Like, I wonder if that happened anywhere else, where they're like, let's just pretend Incredible Hulk didn't happen.
I don't want to confuse people.
Yeah, and but there were like multiple showings of this marathon in that cinema.
Right.
And like, I came out of the first show, Avengers 1, to get like a drink or something, and everyone else came out just having watched Captain America. So I was like, oh, they didn't. Like, we got to see it early. So yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was good. It was a good time.
Avengers was a great experience.
Yeah,
sure. I really love that.
And funny enough, that same year I went to the ceremony of Chris Nolan getting his handprints and his footprints at the Chinese Theatre.
Mm-hmm.
Then later that week, I was at the red carpet premiere of Dark Knight Rises. I didn't see the film at the time, but I was in New York then after that. So I was there for that. And then my friends and I saw Dark Knight Rises the morning of in New York. And to see that, like, because New York is Gotham in that movie, like Trump Tower and things like that. So that was pretty neat, being in New York and seeing Dark Knight Rises. So, yeah.
Dark Knight Rises was definitely a great one for me, because we went to, much like you went to the Avengers one, I got to do the Dark Knight marathon for that one. So my first viewing of Dark Knight Rises was right after watching Batman Begins and Dark Knight, which was great because what they did between each film was show the trailers, like all the trailers for Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, wow.
So I got to see the first one with the song being sang in the beginning, and then who did the second one? It was a something trailer.
Oh, the Nokia trailer?
Yes.
Remember
Nokia trailers?
Yeah.
Like, I remember seeing
Man
that.
Steel had that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so getting that feeling of just excitement of like, oh my god, this is the ending of the Nolan franchise. This was something that everybody was into. Yeah. And obviously someone who was into Batman as a kid and continued being into Batman, for Batman to be the thing that everybody was talking about since 2008 to 2012 was like, yeah, Batman! Yeah. It's great!
Yeah.
So seeing, like I said, Begins to Dark Knight to Rises, just all as one cohesive piece, was really great, considering how much Rises plays into Begins, obviously, with all that stuff. So that was a really great experience. I don't think anything ever came close to that until seeing Infinity War, where it was like I was in 2012 again, seeing Avengers, where everyone was so just like, everybody was into it. Too. That was great. It was so awesome.
I guess another one, funny enough, on the same wavelength, I went to an advanced screening of The Dark Knight, as in the 2008 The Dark Knight. I saw, gosh, this is going to show my age. I won tickets through MySpace. I was, they had these, what they called like black curtain screenings or something. And I don't know who else was at this. It couldn't have all been MySpace people. I don't think, but like, if you're on there at a certain time, it gave you the code, you had to text the code, and you would get free tickets to the advanced screening. So my buddy Tristan and I went, and 3 days before The Dark Knight came out, like, I had all the secrets of The Dark Knight, for 3 days before anyone had seen it. And it's funny, because social media wasn't what it is now, like, even though there was no, I don't know if Instagram was around in 2008 or not, I don't think it was, but no Instagram, Twitter wasn't really a thing yet. Even so, we all had to hand in our phones.
Right.
Like, you couldn't have your phone on you. They did like the search on you. They wandered you down to make sure you didn't have anything recording. It's pretty intense. Like, it was high security for it. They dropped Joker cards on the stairs as like when you came out. But also, there was such pride from Australians for Heath Ledger in that movie.
Right.
Like when they showed his name in the end credits, like everyone just stood up and cheered. Like, oh, that was a moment. Like, I feel that now. So yeah, because it was still fresh. Like, it was that year that he died. So yeah, that is up there for me as well. That was a great one. And it's funny how it's all superhero movies. Like, I can't say like,
well, this is
my experience watching
The
Shape of Water was amazing. It was a good experience, though.
Yeah. I mean, there's little moments here and there, but obviously you go for these big, like, giant moments that superhero films, these big blockbusters give. You know? Yeah. Do you have anything?
I think Jurassic World was a big one for me.
I'm unfortunate.
Because, I didn't see any of the, Jurassic Park movies in theaters.
Right.
Sure, yeah, that's a... Yeah.
Yeah, so, when this franchise that I love finally came back, I finally got to see one of their movies in theaters, so that was great for me. And then when I was younger, when Lilo and Stitch came out, one of my friend's aunt was actually one of the animators in the movie. So back in my hometown of Salisbury, Maryland, we got in our movie theater and we watched it with it wasn't the entire art department, but a good chunk of them. And we had the premiere there and we watched it, and it was the first time I ever sat through the credits so I could clap when her name came up and everything.
Yeah.
So that was really neat to attend a mini premiere type thing. So yeah.
Oh, I went to the studio that made Jimmy Neutron before seeing Jimmy Neutron. That was pretty cool. They gave me a little light up ball. They brought me into a room full of computers and they're like, here's all the character models. And shall we make a cartoon? And I was like, cool.
That's pretty neat.
Okay, next question. We have Harry Garden. He asked, what are your favorite sitcoms? I feel like the sitcoms have kind of changed in recent history.
It's funny that you mention that because as we were just, before we were recording, we were just filling in time and we were watching 2 minutes of Home Improvement. I had the thought of haven't sitcoms really changed? Earlier, the same thing when we were skipping channels and we found that 70s show. My exact thought, because there was a point in that 70s show, the episode, the 5 minutes of the episode that we saw, where I could hear the canned laughter was the exact same as one that you would always hear in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Where there's a guy going, oh, in the background. And I think people will know what I mean. If you watched it enough, I binge-watched that show when I was living in the States and had Netflix for the first time.
Yeah.
I'd never really watched it. I started watching it. I, for the most part, enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough to watch everything that was on Netflix at the time in 2012. But
there's a laugh I always recognize from the canned laughter that goes you know that one?
Right, yeah.
That one. It's always at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you use this laughter if it's so recognizable?
Yeah.
If you want to have it flow in and out, I guess the easiest answer as far as sitcoms go would be Friends.
Yeah. Friends.
Is great.
But at the same time, The Office is a sitcom.
Yeah.
And but so my go-tos are The Office, Friends.
Always Sunny is now one of my favorite shows. That's fantastic. That 70s show has always been something I always like to click to, so that's always really entertaining. I used to like How I Met Your Mother.
I used to like it as well.
Not sure why I did, now that I think about it.
Yeah, now that I look back, and there's stuff in that show that I do really like, but there's other parts of it that I'm indifferent towards, but particularly the ending. I did come back to watch the final episode, and I was just like, oof. I'm glad I'm not as into this now because that made me feel like the show was a waste of time.
Yeah. But it's so weird because that was planned since the beginning.
Yeah, because they recorded Lindsay Fonseca and the
Wizards of Waverly Place boy.
I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's a show I enjoy. That season 5 is now on Netflix, and I've watched the first few episodes of that. There are parts of that show where they're very over-the-top funny, where they're trying really hard. I think of, for the fans of the show, I think of the Pimento character. He's,
Memento?
Sorry?
Memento.
Memento, yes. Nolan Sorrento. That character is really over-the-top at times where they try really hard to make him funny to me. And I like that actor a lot. He's in other stuff that I enjoy, but... Yeah.
Is that Anomalies?
Sorry?
Is that these Anomalies?
No. He's the best character.
Oh, he is?
He's the perfect tone. Adrian Brower, Andre Brower, sorry. He is, he's the best. When he's so dry in it. And then when he does something that's a little more over the top, it's so funny because he never does it, so it feels a little bit more earned.
That's what I make sure.
He's my favorite character in the show, and I'm a big Andy Samberg fan. I'm a big Lonely Island fan, so I like what he does.
Right.
And the Boyle character is great as well. But I like a lot. I love that show. But yes.
And you like MASH.
I like MASH. I like Scrubs. I like Seinfeld.
Scrubs, yeah. I haven't seen a lot of Scrubs. Once again, Tristan loves Scrubs, so I would watch episodes every now and again with him, and I always enjoyed it. But I never took the time to get into it. But
to this day, it's still the most medically accurate show.
I was really into it around when it was on back in the day. I attempted to rewatch it, and I just couldn't. So yeah, there's that. Next question we have is: do any of you watch Legends of Tomorrow? No.
So I watched most of the first season, and I was enjoying it because it felt like, once again, we're talking about like Titans. There's different tones, and you can whatever. Legends of Tomorrow was a little bit more silly, a little bit more sci-fi, a little bit more of a comedy in certain ways, while also having characters that you care about. And if they brought in characters like Oliver Queen, like old Oliver Queen, it felt like they could do that because of the way the show was. It didn't feel like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like in The Flash, they would randomly have. Actually, no. In The Flash, when Green Arrow and his cousin, Firestorm, randomly showed up.
At the end of like the season 2 finale episodes.
Season 1 finale, because it's Reverse Flash that they're getting.
Is it? Oh, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, because wasn't it? He's in season 3?
His Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I don't remember. I don't watch those shows anymore.
So yeah, like that felt like, oh, they're just here because they're here.
Yeah.
It's like similar to how sometimes Arrow would use the Flash as a plot device to get out of a jam, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they can just call on the Flash. So similar to they do that with Supergirl now.
Yeah.
It's like it should be difficult to get to another world to me. Otherwise, just go wherever.
Yeah.
But they had the excuse to
do it.
Yeah, they had the excuse that they could do that with Legends of Tomorrow because that's the plot of the show. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I liked the first season. For the most part, but I never finished it, and I never felt the need to finish it. And certain stuff that I've seen now has gone too far in the direction of silly. Like, last time I was here, we watched the George Lucas episode.
Yeah,
which was a complete...
That's what I was going to say, is I've only seen a couple episodes, one of
Yeah.
them being the George Lucas episode, and the other being, like, the crossover episodes. And, yeah, in that episode, George Lucas decides not to become a director, which causes Ray Palmer and Citizen Steel not to be smart because Star Wars and Indiana Jones inspired them to be the men they are today.
Yeah.
So because of that, they am stupid. And it ends with them in a literal trash compactor, and they're like, George, you gotta believe!
Yeah.
Say that you're gonna direct! And he goes, I wanna direct! And then it saves the day! Oh, isn't there a Bill Gates also like a joke in that?
So at one point, Brandon Routh and 2 other characters, well, I should say Ray Palmer, get stuck in the past. So Ray becomes a science teacher, and he wears glasses as a nod to Superman Returns.
Right.
So he's teaching.
They only do that 1 or 2 times, I might add. They hardly ever reference the fact that Brandon Routh was Superman.
So,
1 or 2 times an episode, I mean, of course.
Yeah. And look, it's not like it was too on the nose. He just wore glasses. It's not like he was like, I'm sorry, Lois. Like, it's not like he did any of that. But they were there, and it was clear. It was a clear nod. I was okay with it. Then what follows is he's talking to someone whose surname is Gates, and he talks about, like, this guy says that he missed a class. Oh, my son William was sick. I needed to stay home. And he goes, your son's Bill Gates? It's like, and he goes, Bill, that's not a bad nickname.
I should get him a calculator for his birthday.
Yeah.
Hope you like computers.
So it's stuff like that makes me go like, ooh, that's too much. But
meanwhile, the White Canary is making every female in every possible time period gay.
Yeah, that's her. Like, there was
character.
a good episode. I'm pretty sure this was in the first season where she was posing as a nurse, and it was maybe like the 30s or something.
It was definitely all because the only one that could get around was Victor Garber, because the other half of Firestorm was a young black man.
Yes.
And White Canary was a woman.
Yes.
And so he was the only one that was like, I can do whatever I want, because I was on the Titanic.
So, so it might not have been the 30s, it might not have been that far back, it might have been like the 50s or something, because I remember
like sweatshirts. Like
he went into a milk bar and it felt like Back to the Future. But, so Sarah's posing as a nurse, and there's a nurse who is gay but isn't open about it because it's the 50s, and Victor Garber has the conversation with her. It's like, you have no idea what you're doing to this woman who now has to exist in this time period. Like,
she doesn't get to come home with you and live in the future where everyone's accepted.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you've doomed her.
And it's funny because Victor Garber is also a gay actor, so I found that really fascinating, and they handled it like it was social commentary, that was dealing with a social issue in like a really interesting way.
Yeah.
But since then, I feel like from what I read, like she just sleeps she
slept with Supergirl's sister.
Yeah. And to her, it's like no big deal. Like, I don't know. I guess the original question was, do we watch Legends of Tomorrow? The answer is no.
The answer is no. I've never seen an episode. Except the one with George Lucas. And the Nazis. The planet of Nazis. Planet X, which stands for
X-Men.
Nazis.
Oh. You also watched the Days of Future Past episode, right? Where it was like old man.
I did watch that. Yeah.
With Slade's son.
Yeah, that's right. And not Connor Hawke.
Yes,
that's right. Next question, which is the final question from Mr. Garden. We have Kirk. As a fellow Australian, is it true you love The Chaser?
Oh yeah, damn right I do. I love The Chaser. I became a fan in the second season of The Chaser's War and Everything. I had heard a lot about them. I'd watched the final episode of the first season when it aired, and I was like, that was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And my buddies, once again, Tristan, that's the reason I bring it up a lot. Big part of my life. We were in high school, and he would always talk about it. It was that Wednesday night block. Australians may know this. Wednesday night block in like 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, where it was like Spicks and Specs, which is a game show, a trivia quiz show about music, followed by The Chaser, followed by either the Gruen Transfer or Summer Heights High. It was like
just saying words right now.
I'm not talking to you. There was this this really interesting, great block of shows, and The Chaser was like the highlight for me. I then got the DVD of CNN, which was really funny stuff. I enjoyed The Hamster Wheel. I tried to get into the most recent show that they had done a couple of years ago, with a cast of a lot of people, and it wasn't the same to me. I saw them live in like 2010 or something like that. They did a live show, which I thought was great fun. So yeah, I'm a big fan of The Chaser. Every now and again, I'll go back and watch certain skits. You know some Chaser stuff.
Yeah, they're funny.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
They showed that security in Australia is not exactly what it should be.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've shown him the APEC one. Like, that was a shit show. That was gigantic. That was the biggest news story in the country at the time. This comedy act that infiltrated the meeting of the world leaders, including one of them dressed as Osama bin Laden. There you go!
You showed it to me afterwards! Yeah!
Yeah. It's really fun. Yeah. I've met Chris Taylor, and I've met Craig Rucastle, so they were good guys. I met them at Tropfest.
Well, there you go, Mr. Garden. There's your question answered.
I love The Chaser.
Next question we have is Shadow of Batman. The first question is kind of just for me. He says, what is your opinion on Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps book? I think it is good. I wouldn't say that it's great, unfortunately. A lot of the books kind of just feel like, I'm not going to say filler per se, but they feel like just sort of generic. Like, this is the Hal Jordan story we need to tell. I like a lot of the character dynamics. I love that we have a book that is able to feature the 4 main Green Lantern human characters. You know, we have the Green Lanterns, which features the other 2, the newer ones. Boz and Cruz. So that's really good. I'm glad that we have that. And I'm also really glad that we have a book for Kyle and John and Guy and Hal. Once again, it's not my favorite, but I do like it. I'm just one volume behind because it doesn't come out until January. But I just finished reading the first arc with Zod, so I'm looking forward to wrapping it up and finishing the Vendetti run. I only recently came back and read all the New 52 stuff that he did, and I really appreciated it this time around. I really like the sort of rogue Hal Jordan storyline, which I'm surprised that I even did. So yeah, it's a fine book. A lot of people consider that to be like one of the best Rebirth books. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I do appreciate it, and I think it has its spot in Green Lantern history, so that's really cool. Next question he had is, this can be for both of us, all of us even. What was the collection of toys you wanted when you first started your toy collection? So was there a line or a group of characters or whoever that you're like, I want this no matter, like, this is where I'm going to start. I want to collect this line.
So, in terms of my toy collecting, it started with the Dark Knight Rises Bane, which I just saw that figure and I was like, I really want to own that. Like, I think that looks great. And then I got, which is funny now because it's not a great figure, the Arkham City Nightwing from Hasbro. Mattel. I'm sorry, from Mattel as opposed to the DC Collectibles one.
Yes.
And
I remember this far back.
Yes, yeah. Which is not a great figure, but
it's got a weird head.
Yeah, like a stretched face. And then they made like a 3 3/4 inch version of him that came with, I want to say, I don't think it was Solomon Grundy.
Was it Croc?
It might have been Croc. Yeah, I think it was Croc. I got him out of the box on eBay because I just wanted that. But it's the exact same head. It's just on a tiny, tiny body, which is really funny. But to be fair, the series that it started with for me, or not series, it started with Cyclops. Like, I just decided, I want to have a great Cyclops collection. And it started with that, and then from there, it sort of branched out, similar to when I got Bane and Nightwing. I was like, you know what, I kind of want to get this. This is a cool figure. Like, the Arkham Origins Batman, I thought was a great figure, for example.
Yeah.
So I've really only been collecting for like 6 years. It's been good fun.
Yeah.
So Cyclops is where it really started.
That's good. DC Universe Classics was really the line that I felt like I wanted to really collect a lot of, and I'm still collecting to this day. It was the penultimate sort of DC line at the time, because I knew I wanted to collect 6-inch figures. I got that Batman, the DC Universe Classics Batman, the gray with the yellow symbol. That was the first figure of that line that I picked up. And it's always so funny because when you start collecting at that age, because that's whenever on YouTube, I discussed this in a video on my other channel at one point, but I learned that, you could be a toy collector and be at whatever age you want and that kind of stuff. But at that age, I didn't have money to spend things on, and I didn't have a car to get me there, and I didn't have some way to buy things online.
Yeah.
So I was a bit more limited. So there's always points, even to this day, where I think, God, I remember seeing that pack in stores. I just had no way of getting it. And now, if I could, I absolutely would, because now it's impossible to get. For people that are a fan of the DC Universe Classics line, you'll know the 2-pack of Batman and the green and red Robin. That's the Tim Drake style Robin. That figure, that was a Walmart exclusive, is now one of the most expensive 2-packs in the line, because it's the standard Batman and Robin figure to get, because it also looks like animated series, so if you're a fan of that, you can get it, or if you want to think it's Tim Drake, you can. But I remember seeing that in stores and being like, God, I want that, and now I'll never get it. So it's one of those things. Same thing, there was like a 5-pack of, it was like a Gotham City 5-pack, and it had 5 figures, which included Batman, Superman, Lex Luthor. So far you're like, that's
Gotham City.
And then it had an exclusive Catwoman and an exclusive Two-Face. The Catwoman and the Two-Face were repaints from the Superheroes line, which it was sort of like the green and orange-purple Two-Face. And then Catwoman was like in a purple jumpsuit, but it was still like a modern outfit. And then Lex Luthor was the only like Super Friends style with the collar and everything they ever released to that line. And I wanted that. And I remember being in the store with my mom and being like, hey, can I get this? And she's like, no. So now I don't have that. That's a bummer. But obviously I've gone on to collect Marvel Legends, and I even collect a few wrestling figures as well. Transformers, Starscream, and of course I have a pretty sizable Hal Jordan collection as well. So that's something where it's like it doesn't matter the line, it doesn't matter the thing. It's a Hal Jordan figure. I'm very likely to get it.
It's funny you mention wrestling figures because technically for me, I guess when I was a kid, so that would be it started for me with like Batman figures. Whenever my mom would go to grocery shopping to get me like a Legends of Batman or was it Legends of the Dark Knight? Was that what that series was called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one with Kane Bane.
Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, before that, the 5-inch.
Oh yeah,
ones,
yeah.
like the Nightwing with the yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
Like I would get tons of those. But to be fair, I really started collecting, but I wasn't spending the money, was wrestling figures.
Right.
I would get tons of wrestling figures for my birthday and for Christmas. Like that was what my parents knew to get me. So that was kind of where it started. But as a kid, like I played with those toys, so it was different. And like I told myself for the longest time when I started collecting as an adult and spending money, I'm not going to buy wrestling figures. It's just going to be too, too hard.
Expensive roster with multiple outfits, and it's like, I
don't want to be like it's hard enough with Marvel Legends to be like, I got this Star-Lord, but they're coming out with a new Star-Lord, and it's so much better, and it's a good Chris Pratt head. Like, you make all these excuses, and you end up buying it even though you said you weren't going to do it. It's like, it's going to be my Star-Lord, it represents blah, blah, blah. I was like, it'll be that way with wrestling. Like,
absolutely.
But, so my wrestling shelf, like if you might have seen it on Twitter and stuff, like it's all over the place, and that's kind of how I like it, because that's wrestling, baby.
Different eras, different things, then, now, forever.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it was supposed to be. You have started collecting a line this year, which has already filled up 2 shelves.
Yes, this year I started collecting the Jurassic Park figures / World. I don't do the battle damage. But what got me, like what I started first set out to do is I wanted, and I still do, every figure of classic suit Harley. Because as we discussed earlier, classic suit Harley is my Harley. It really should be everyone's Harley, but whatever. I deviate a little bit. Like I have Arkham Knight up there. Like I have it's not here, but I have the nurse outfit.
You get the Playarts Kai nurse outfit. Right?
I do have the Playarts Kai. I got that as a birthday gift, actually. So I do deviate here and there just to have the video games represented, because I love the Arkham games. But yeah, Harley Quinn was the big thing that I was first I want this, I want all that I can ever get. I have pops that are practically the same. One just has the pop gun, the other one has the mallet with angry eyes. But I'll do it because I want it, I need it. I mean, you both are more team builders. I mainly just collect characters. I'm a big character collector. I get a lot of Black Widow, Winter Soldier, X-23.
I was that for the longest time as well. Just mainly a character collector. I remember there was a time when we were talking about new Marvel Legends, and I'd said something that I need to get that, and you were like, "You're not a Marvel Legends collector."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yes, I am. I own more than 10."
Because you had certain characters, and I think at the time maybe you were starting on a New York section. But it wasn't okay, well here's my space guys, and here's my ground level, and here's my X-Men, and here's my villains, and it's now you are.
Now I have X-Men, MCU, and then kind of New York with the heroes and villains on the shelf.
I mean, you are a Marvel Legends collector now. You did it. Congratulations. I hope you're happy with yourself.
My wallet is so happy.
Last question we have from Shadow of Batman is for Kirk exclusively. We can't answer it. You put for Kirk. Who had, and I kind of like this because it's kind of like a pun, who had the best take on Cyclops in your eyes?
Oh, my eyes. My horrible red eyes.
Show them your eyes.
Black Dot. It's a little X-Men Evolution reference for you guys. I guess in terms of, are we talking everything? Are we talking comics? Are we talking
If you had to pick a Cyclops, just like right now, who's got Cyclops?
Animated series.
Okay.
Like, Who's got Cyclops? Animated series.
Okay.
I love the Norm Spencer voice performance. Earlier I referenced, the struggle that he goes through in the first 2 episodes. Like, it establishes him straight away as he's the leader, he's the one in charge for a reason. He makes the tough choices. It's not always popular. He can be hated for it. He can be loved for it. It's not always easy, but he can't compromise. And, it even comes to that later in the show when it comes to Jean and the Phoenix. Like, he has to, he can't just be, he starts off by saying Jean is still in there. And which is something that excites me about Dark Phoenix when he's like, I know she's done terrible things, but Jean's our friend, he's gonna have to make the choice. I just see it coming. I do. Earlier I mentioned the Whedon run. If I was to recommend any short Cyclops read for anybody, it's the Marvel Icons 4-part miniseries that they did, written by Brian K. Vaughan, who was the writer of Why the Last Man and the writer of Saga. Great writer. He wrote a Cyclops miniseries. It's written during the Grant Morrison run as well, which is something that's funny. That's why I like it a lot, and I don't really like the Grant Morrison run. But that's a great representation of the character as well. In terms of movies, I really liked what James Marsden did. He didn't get a lot of screen time to do it, but he was great. And I love what Ty Sheridan's doing. So I thought he was fantastic in Apocalypse. He's a big reason why I liked that film so much. Now that I'm a couple of years removed from the film, like when I did my top 20 comic book movies, that movie was very high on the list. It would not be higher now than X-Men 1 or Days of Future Past, I'll say that. But I do really enjoy that film, and is that Cyclops? Yeah! I'm right here. Yes.
Cyclops.
I love Cyclops!
Next guy we have is some Chef Rumpy Rules. I don't know who
Chef
that
Rumpy
is.
Rule?
Yeah, Chef Rumpy Rule.
Okay.
Our friend Frank.
Frank Scotland.
He's from...
I just thought of that. That was really dumb. I'm sorry. I was trying to also play the get the name wrong game.
Do you think anyone's ever said that to him?
I don't know. I wonder.
Oh, man.
It's spelled the same as Ireland, yeah. I'm sorry.
Frank Ireland.
I'm sorry, Frank.
This question is for Kirk and Kirk alone.
Oh, no.
Kirk, has your Funko Pop collection grown since you last told me? What's your favorite?
So Frank put out a tweet a while back that said, I'm nervous to count my pops. So I counted mine and I told him the number.
What a story.
My point is that he's the only one that knows the number.
Okay.
I think you helped me count them once as well.
Yeah.
Over Skype, where I was like, I'm going to read them all the names, and could you keep tally for me?
Mm-hmm. It's quite high.
It may or may not be 3 digits.
It was at the time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. What's my favorite?
Doc Ock.
The Doc Ock one's really good. The Doc Ock one is really good, actually. I really like the... Speaking earlier about Twin Peaks, I really like the Agent Cooper one, because he's got a coffee in one hand, he's got a thumb up in the other, and it's like, if you were to try and represent the character, that's it. So I like that. Yeah.
Alright.
I'm going to go with that.
This one's just for me. He says, Anthony, what has been the top 3 enjoyable movies of the year? Mine is way more.
Why just you? Why can't I answer that? I've seen movies.
Movies. Well, let's go to my list, shall we? I've seen quite a few movies this year. As far as enjoyable, I would say Hotel Artemis, Mission Impossible Fallout, Christopher Robin. Now, those are not my favorite movies of the year, but as far as general enjoyment, I think a larger audience can go to those films and enjoy them. So yeah, that's my answer. There you go. And the last question that he has is for you.
Oh.
Where you didn't get any questions. But that's okay, because I didn't say you were going to be here.
Yes.
It's fine.
So he says, Kirk, what did we do? And as a follow-up, he says, has hashtag spam shades at night worked?
No. No, it hasn't. What did we do is dead. Can we accept it, please, everybody? It's dead. I didn't find it funny anymore. I'm sorry to burst everyone's bubble. Look, the real thing is a bunch of episodes got taken down for copyright. The X-Men one, which was my favorite episode, got taken down by Fox. Those dirty dicks. And
you've been here supporting them.
I've been supporting them for years. I've been defending their ass. So that a bunch of them got taken down. The big episode about the Spider-Man wedding got taken down. It's like my favorite stuff was gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, screw it. So, that's that story. Can I talk about movies that I like?
No. So we have here.
I really like.
Listen, we have an hour and a half
Mission
already.
Impossible Fallout.
Well, I already said that. How didn't I?
I really like Black Klansman.
Okay, Black Klansman. Enjoyable time. Bring the kids. All right. Next question we have is Stuff I Made Productions. He says, Anthony, I recall a few years ago you starting a series called My DC Universe. I don't remember how many episodes you ended up making. Well, you can go check. But I don't think it was ever finished. It wasn't finished. What was your general idea behind this direction it was going?
That was like an Arrested Development moment. It wasn't.
It wasn't. So my DC Universe ended because I realized that I didn't like it and I just couldn't finish it. I had some ideas. Generally speaking, I do like overall the things that I came up with. I like the idea that I did with the Flash a lot. My next idea was going to be Aquaman. Ironically, a lot of the things in the Aquaman trailer was going to be in mine, like the gladiatorial arena thing to kind of fight for the throne. That was going to be in my Aquaman, which kind of is like, I should have made the fucking video so I could have been like, back in this year, I said that, but I never did. So I even drew like pictures of costume, concept art, and all sorts of stuff.
And they were all used for the movie as well. It's so weird.
It was ridiculous.
Someone hacked you.
The movie is actually way more comic accurate than I was going to be. So there's that. But essentially, if you watch the first episode, which was my JSA, it was leading to the idea that Brainiac was coming. So you have Brainiac coming, and it was going to be this realization by each character at one point. So you had Batman, who was doing his normal detective stuff, and something's going on in Gotham. People are getting attacked that maybe they shouldn't have. You know, the normal criminals are getting a bit more advanced than they should. Maybe a character like the Riddler suddenly has a huge spike in his crime because he's getting a little, intelligence advance from someone outside of this planet. You could have characters like...
That's a neat idea.
Obviously, it was going to build up to Superman. Because Superman is that connection, because the whole reason he's coming to Earth is because there's one Kryptonian left. He wants something from Atlantis. He wants something of the Martians, who would be Martian Manhunter. Everything that is the last of is somehow on Earth. So that's why he wants to come there and take everything out. And then all these characters would slowly be getting the pieces, and that's why they all come together, is because they show up and they're like, hey, so you know about Brainiac somehow. I know about Brainiac too. It just happens that they're all also superpowered beings. And so that's how the Justice League forms. You go from there, and then they fight Brainiac, and then you kind of spread out. I had this idea that Hal, Guy, and John would sort of be government-supported. Because it's the Green Lantern Corps and they're the police of the universe, they would be supported by our, world government, essentially, like the UN, and sort of play by the rules. Because if you have these superhero characters where it's like, okay, we play with the rules out in space, but when we're here, we're, cowboys, that doesn't really make sense. So you would have 3 representatives of the Green Lantern Corps serve as sort of, a voice for the worlds of, Earth. And then, of course, you would have other people like Amanda Waller. That's where she would get the idea for, like, the Suicide Squad. She's been pitching this idea for a while, and they're like, we've got the Green Lantern Corps, shut up! Like, we don't need that. And then, obviously, the events of Brainiac, that's where that would kind of spin out, and she would kind of get her own way. So that was kind of my general idea for the DC Universe. Obviously, it never went that way. It's never going to happen. Like, what did we do? It's dead, unfortunately.
Well, it's funny that you mention that, because remember, I also did a couple of trailers that were going to be like intros to what I would do with like a DCU, and it sort of started with Batman, Shadow of the Bat, and then Superman was going to be just the last son of
Super of the Man,
and last son of Krypton, and from that I had edited like a trailer for Green Lantern that I found it really hard to finish. Was how do you do a Green Lantern trailer?
Yeah, exactly.
But it was going to be kind of like. Similar to what they did with Batman vs. Superman, where like they show Bruce Wayne in Metropolis as the fight happens with Zod. Like my thing was the Superman versus Brainiac fight was going to be happening, and Hal Jordan was going to kind of be witness to that.
Okay.
And when Abin's sword dies and it finds Hal Jordan, and the Corps are like, we don't need you, you fucking Earth guy. And he's like, hey, I've seen a lot of shit, and there's a lot of shit going down on my planet too. Like, I need this. I feel like I need to protect my planet.
Space came to my planet, so
yes, yeah.
Why can't I go to space?
I had that planned. I also had my fourth one was going to be The Outsiders, where I was going to have,
cool.
I was going to have it just be a sort of amalgamation of like street level characters.
Right.
Nightwing, who had already been introduced in the Batman movie, Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Huntress. That was going to be my team. And I think I was maybe going to put like Cyborg in there to make
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. And kind of do similar to what they did with Cyborg in Justice League. If I'm like, I don't know what the hell I am. I don't know what I'm like. What do I do? And these guys been like, we don't know how to deal with this. We just stop small crimes. You know?
Right. Yeah.
So it kind of branches into a slightly bigger story off that. There was going to be a Wonder Woman movie that I just didn't know how to write because I didn't know anything about Wonder Woman.
You'll notice I didn't say anything about Wonder Woman either.
Yeah.
So that's the one we know the least about.
Like I could.
Don't
I contemplated then making Justice League and having her be the character that's introduced in that.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like that was a little bit of a cop out. So I had that planned, and like my Justice League was going to be Legion of Doom, basically. So my series was, that. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. All right, next question we got the T. Hamill himself. Good old T. We've got a series of questions. He says...
Groovy Spider-Ham.
Yeah, of course. Spooky Spider Spam. What is he called on Twitter? Spooky Spider Hamill.
He's the only one that's figured out that I'm here.
Yeah, good on you, dude.
He cracked the code.
You cracked the code. T. Hamill cracked the code. He says, just want to say, I'm glad to see you guys doing something together.
Oh.
It's nice to see you playing well with others again. We don't get it often. I appreciate you guys doing this. Well,
maybe temporary.
We appreciate you watching. I mean, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
He says, what is the most precious item or items in your collection? Could be a comic, a figure, etc. It may not necessarily be something of value, but something that is value to you.
I like owning. I like owning.
I like money.
I like money. To me, a pizza means money. I like owning the first appearance of Nightwing, which was a gift from this guy.
Draco's father.
So, I didn't hear that properly. It registered. What's something else?
I'm proud of the DC Collectibles Green Lantern that I have. It's sort of the centerpiece of my gesture up because it's in the heavens. I got that as a graduation gift to myself.
That's right.
Because I got a lot of graduation money. I was done with high school, and that was coming out around that time. And I remember I was working at the comic book store at the time it was coming out. And I remember we got it in a shipment like sooner than I was expecting it to. And so I was like, can I go home and get my money so I can buy this from you guys? And I did. And Greg's, I got it at cost. I didn't have to pay like the actual price for it. So that was really good. And I mean, it's one of those things where I guess it is definitely expensive. It's one of the most expensive items in my collection. But to be a Green Lantern fan and have that is really, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? You know, it's like having Cyclops' visor or anything where it's like, this is the item.
As you described this.
Yeah, it's like his lantern. It's Batman's Batarang, Superman's cape, Aquaman's trident. You need that item if you're a fan of them. So, I mean, that's really cool that I have that. And I have a lot of other little smaller things. Like, I have a Batman the Animated Series Mr. Freeze on card that I'm really proud of because it's not an expensive figure by any means, but that's my favorite version of Mr. Freeze. It's why I love the character. So it's good to have that represented. And just little items here and there that just aren't anything to brag about, but it's like, that's what this collection means to me. It's what I like.
I guess the things that I really feel that way about are the ones that have like a kind of a fun story to them, like you were just describing. It's like the lantern was a graduation present to yourself. Like I have stuff that's signed, but then there's stuff that's signed that have like fun stories to it. Like I have the Wade Barrett action figure that was signed WrestleMania weekend, where like, I got my photo with him after he'd signed it, and then I left it on the table, and he was like, "Oi, you forgot your figure," and he was like, "Don't leave it here, or I'll sell it on eBay for like $20." And, which is like, it was really funny. He was such a nice guy, and he was really funny about that. I have X-Men 2 on DVD signed by Hugh Jackman. When I visited the set of the movie Australia, the Baz Luhrmann movie, when a few of us were selected when I was in high school. Those who studied film in high school, a bunch of us were selected, and that was neat to visit the set of a giant movie. Like I hadn't experienced being on set of a movie with a budget that big. Like, one of the third act of that movie, it gets bombed by Japan, so you have giant craters and things like that, and it was cool to see that on sets, and we met and spoke to Baz Luhrmann, and then like I brought the X-Men 2 DVD with me just in case, and like we were about to leave. I think we were sitting down to sort of have lunch, and we were going to leave after, and I showed my friends, like, I brought this with me just in case, and they were like, "Why?" You fucking X-Men geek. And I was like, well, I'd kick myself if I had the opportunity. I didn't.
Yeah, of course.
And then, like maybe 5 minutes after I said this, a really tall man who was very, very orange because he was playing the Drover, started walking towards us with sunglasses, and it was that realization of like, it's Hugh Jackman. And I had met him once before. It's a long story. I'm sorry, but like we our version of like the Tony Awards, which are the stage awards. We have the Helpman Awards, and he was a presenter at that. I was like part of like a routine back when I was like a dancer. I wasn't in any stage show at the time, but I was there for a little skit as part of the award show. And then he came up and spoke to all of us, and which was super, super cool of him. He came up to us.
Yeah.
And then he did the same thing when we were visiting set. And like, Hugh Jackman is the world's nicest man.
You're like, wow, man, you sure are the greatest showman. And he goes,
that gives me an idea.
And 15 years to me.
Like Boyhood. But it's, so he like any other, like he was asking, we were asking questions, he was answering. And I asked if he could sign my DVD, and he was like, "That's not a question." So I came up and signed it, and it says, "Kirk, great to meet you, Hugh Jackman." So that was super cool, because I brought it by chance that I would meet him.
Right.
We were about to leave, not at all disappointed, because we had a great day, and we saw a lot of stuff, but, didn't think we were going to meet him, and then we did. So that was neat. So that's something that's of, you can't put a price tag on that to me.
That's the moment. You look at it and you remember the moment. You don't see the signature.
Yes.
Because, there are people that do that, but
yeah.
you remember the time of meeting them and talking to them and being like, wow, that was great.
Yeah.
What a great experience.
Yeah.
Or do you have anything?
My Jurassic Park book that's signed by Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, yeah.
He gave me... I walked up in the line, he goes, "Wow." And I was just like, "Oh my god, thank you!" Total fangirl where I was like, I'm not going to do that, but that's what happened.
Yeah. Can't help it sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, my other thing would probably be the very first classic Harley Quinn thing I got was a DC... Was it Universe statue? I think? Or DC Online. It was like a tie-in with like the video game that they were doing.
Yeah.
It was a statue.
Oh, DC Universe Online. Yeah. I remember that.
And that was the very first thing I ever got, and it was like... It was really like my rite of passage into becoming a collector. So like that it means a lot to me. It's like, this is the first thing I got with my own money.
Yeah. That's the thing, like I was saying with the Bane figure, like that was the first figure I truly bought with my own money, so I can't give that away. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about what matters to you, and I appreciate the question because it brings in good memories.
Yes.
Second question is favorite Jimmy Olsen. Seth Green.
Before I hit the ground!
Yeah, just those moments.
Yeah.
It's all the scoops!
Yes, his movements are so... Yeah. Oh, I got the magic amulet. My go-to is always Jack Larson in the 50s show. I think he's so good, and I think a lot of Jimmy Olsen's character moving forward was sort of based on the popularity of his character and how he played him in that. Like, he got Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen after that. Everyone else who's played him with that kind of, oh, Mr. Kent, like, is sort of based off of that.
Yeah.
So, same with Perry White, like,
yeah.
that influenced a lot of those characters going forward. But I do like Sam Huntington in
I
Superman
mean, he's fun.
Returns.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I do really like McFly's brother, Mark McClure, in the Superman films. I think he's really good as well. And I like Aaron Ashmore, even though he wasn't Jimmy Olsen. That was one of those great Smallville retcons.
Smallville's weird. I don't.
Yeah, and then he played him again at the end, but as the younger brother.
Yeah, he's like, listen, it's
30.
My brother was Jimmy Olsen, but I'm also Jimmy Olsen.
I'm also Jimmy Olsen. Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, Jimmy Olsen's a great character with a lot of potential. I really appreciate the cast of Superman characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have them, and it's unfortunate that they go underappreciated in a lot of Superman interpretations.
Yeah.
But
we didn't even talk about Big Black Beautiful Jimmy.
No, it goes without saying. Let's see. It says, can you name 3 people, artists or writers, so no actors or anything, associated with Daredevil? I mean, this is pretty easy. Mark Waid, Chris Samney,
Frank Miller,
Kevin Smith.
Yes. Joe Quesada, also.
Bendis.
Miller, Mark, Bendis. They're all my artists and writers. It's Stanley.
Stan Liebert.
Stanley Lieberman, yeah.
Stanley Yelnats.
Well, oh yeah, we haven't talked about this yet, have we? Drew Goddard.
I can draw a Daredevil.
There you go.
Me.
Like, funny enough, like Jack Kirby, like, didn't he come up with the design? Or maybe he didn't come up. No, because then he'd be credited as a creator.
Yeah.
He drew the first cover or something like that.
Something like that.
But he wasn't. He didn't co-create him.
Yeah.
That's why Kevin Smith plays Kirby. Better be good, Kirby.
There
You know me, Yurik. It's always good.
Next couple of questions we have are from Nathan Snyder.
Who?
A longtime fan as well. He says, is Superman faster than the Flash?
Sure.
It all depends on the writers, of course. If it's a Flash book, the Flash is faster. If it's Superman book, Superman's faster. It's all bullshit.
That was a Simpsons reference, and I got it. Yes. Just making that known.
What's The Simpsons?
Well, it's about a monorail.
Is it from that guy that did Futurama?
No, it's from that guy that did, I screwed up my joke. I can't remember the name of the show on Netflix. Disenchantment, yeah.
The bunnies? The one with the bunnies?
The one with the bunnies, yeah.
Marge is the bunny, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She took off her hair and those big bunny ears.
Sure.
It's the original ending of The Simpsons.
Yep.
This fucking Clark Kent from Justice League, motherfucker. How excited are you for Bumblebee? From The Simpsons.
That famous Simpsons character. Bumblebee, man.
In parentheses, man.
Yes. I can't wait to see John Cena play Bumblebee, man.
Very. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
Very. About.
I will see it, I guess.
I have to. I date you.
Listen, I love Transformers, and it's crazy because Transformers is really big for me and my brothers as well. So Michael and Zachary and Ray, of course, we're all going to be going to see Bumblebee opening night. It's going to be a big moment for me and my brothers, especially, which is saying something because Michael's favorite superhero is Aquaman, which comes out the same night, but he'd rather see Bumblebee because Transformers is bigger in his life than, say, Aquaman is. He's still very excited for Aquaman, and we're seeing it as soon as possible, but Bumblebee takes priority. And John Cena, you know?
And Rick Astley, and, you know.
Okay, so funny enough, speaking of Michael, we have questions from his YouTube channel, The Phantom Scarn. I highly recommend you check out his content. It's really funny.
There's some very funny stuff on there.
He says, how many toys do you have? Count for me.
Yeah, he asked this question after I was no longer home. Did you count?
500. I don't know.
Oh.
I think I'm going to count all of these. It's especially because I live with somebody else. It's hard to be like, no, wait, no, that's yours. Okay.
Well, then now they're both of yours.
Yeah, that's a lot more to count.
But a lot easier to count.
Let's start. 11, 92, 12.
Buzz.
Also,
Like, to the
doesn't
rescue.
help,
I want to cross.
Half of my stuff isn't even here.
Exactly. We can't even count those.
Yeah.
Thanks. Next question. After Infinity War, who do you think died in the Baker family? And will you think it'll affect Cheap by the Dozen 3?
Yes.
So the one girl that wanted to date Taylor Lautner, the one that's in the Phineas and Ferb show, and Isabella, gone.
Yeah.
The older sister, not Hilary Duff, but the eldest sister, who
Karen
was pregnant,
Sympathy.
gone.
Yeah.
Definitely
Can't fight the moonlight.
each one of the there's two sets of twins. One of those each gone.
Yeah.
Redhead stays. Fat one stays. Tom stays. Hillary stays.
Which of the parents goes?
I think Steve Martin goes.
Steve Martin goes?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think he's got the moment that's like Spider-Man, where he's like, I don't want to go. And then, like, just falls to the ground. I'm sorry. And then fades
And
away.
he goes, thanks, cost money.
What about the
And Tom
dog?
Molly walks up and he goes, when'd you learn to play the banjo?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I think would happen. I think, so you think Hilary Duff stays?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because she's got to like learn responsibility now because she's Hilary Duff in that time, so she's got to grow up.
Yes.
Same thing with Tom Welling. He has to be the man of the house now.
See, Tom Welling is Tony Stark in this scenario. Like, he's the one that's... What?
That's when he looks at his hand.
Oh!
When he's like, look at his hand to be
Yes.
dust.
He wipes Peter Parker dust off his hand. Like, that's so weird to me. That is a natural choice. You'd be like... You wouldn't just be like, I've got the essence, what's left of this child on me. Like, you would just be like that. But it is a funny moment, because he's essentially scraping away what's left of Spider-Man. But, yeah.
As he should.
Although maybe he's just scraping off, like, the suit.
So,
My technology.
this would take place after 3, so it's fine. Cheap by the Dozen 3 is unaffected.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah.
I thought we made 2 Cheap by the Dozen 3 back in 2011.
So so Infinity War is after Cheap by the Dozen 3.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's after that, so it's fine. Okay, this is the final question. Feel free to answer if you like. Does eating Oops All Berries, which is the Captain Crunch cereal, but only the berry pieces, make your poop green? Because that's just a thing that I've heard and it hasn't happened to me, just wondering. This is a question from my brother Michael, who is in college now. I'm going to say no, it hasn't. It doesn't do that, actually.
That shouldn't happen. Go see a doctor. I mean, it's natural for it to turn up green every once in a while, but go see a doctor.
Well, that was my brother Michael, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you liked his questions. Next one we have is from Cody, who has been a long-time viewer of the show. Hey there, Cody.
Hey.
His picture is Sami Zayn, as you can see there. Looks really funny. He says, another Q&A. Awesome. Always love these. I don't know why I read that sarcastically, as if he's like,
I always love these.
What's a recent-ish thing in wrestling that you've enjoyed the most? Wendy.
I went to Super Showdown live, and I had a lot of fun. I read after the fact that everyone hated the Undertaker Triple H match. It went too long. Everyone looked old and slow. I was like, that was a roller coaster of emotion, that match live. Like, everyone around me was chanting, "You still got it. This is awesome." Like, everyone loved that live.
Right.
At least in my section.
That's usually how it is. The
Yeah.
same thing happened when we went to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
we had a blast. It was the
Yeah.
greatest time of our life.
Yeah.
And we get home and it's like, that was the worst
That was the
WrestleMania
worst.
ever.
Everyone, yeah. So,
Wasn't like that live?
no, live was great fun. So I really enjoyed that. I mean, I love NXT every week. Did he say wrestling or
Wrestling.
wrestling? I mean, like I watch more wrestling now than I ever have in my life. I watch almost all of WWE's programming. I don't watch Mixed Match Challenge. I don't watch Main Event. I watch.
What?
But I do, because I don't have Hulu. I don't watch. Sorry, I watch. Obviously, Raw and SmackDown, but I do really like 205 Live. I really do, and I enjoy the Mae Young Classic this year. So yeah, but I watch a lot of wrestling that's outside of WWE. I'm a big New Japan fan. I'm going to be going to the Ring of Honor New Japan show in Madison Square Garden next year. I've also gotten tickets to go to all the WWN shows. So I'll be going to Evolve. I'll be going to DDT. I'll be going to what was after? I can't remember. But I'm going to a lot of shows.
That sounds awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be great fun. And my whole family is coming. And my brother and my sister have never been to America. So obviously we're going to be going to WrestleMania as well. Tickets for that aren't on sale yet.
Oh!
But yeah, so that'll be my second WrestleMania. But I chose to go to the Ring of Honor New Japan show instead of NXT, which was a tough choice because I love NXT.
Right.
But it's a once in a lifetime, like, there's never going to be a first non-WWE show in Madison Square Garden. And the way New Japan is right now, like, because the big question is, will Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody, and Hangman Page all still be there, or will WWE sign them before then?
As soon as fucking possible.
Yeah, and, you know, I would not begrudge them at all if they are offered incredible money.
That's the thing. I feel like, because they would have a similar mindset about this, of like, we can't go there yet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they are planning that kind of stuff, they would be offering, and they would be offering at a limited time offer of like, it expires the night before kind of thing.
Like, the next time their contracts are up with Ring of Honor and New Japan, respectively, like, you know, I'm not saying that they won't be as popular, because I don't think that's going to happen, but the need for them, maybe, like, who knows? Like, Vince might not be as keen to get them. You know, I don't work for WWE, obviously, but it's been very clear over the years that Vince wants people that he can't have.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, that's part of that. For their sakes, I would hope they wouldn't go. I would think someone like Hangman Page or Kenny Omega would do incredibly well. I would think Kenny would get the AJ Styles treatment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, when people say, like, look at how great AJ's done, they'd all be guaranteed to do well. Tag teams aren't always the biggest thing in WWE, so I could see the Young Bucks.
They can be for, like, it's like a firework.
Yes.
It'll be there for a bit, and then it's sunlight. It's like, oh yeah, remember when they were tag champs?
Yeah. It's like Gallows and Anderson, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And sadly, it's also like Finn. Like, Finn came in, like, a lot of momentum, and like a big star out of NXT. You know, they could reference NXT all they wanted, and look what he's doing now. You know, not much, and like he can not be on pay-per-views constantly.
Right.
So I worry about Cody just because of how they treated him the last time.
Yeah.
To me, he was always like, this is a guy who should be money to you, and they kept him in that Stardust gimmick longer than they needed to. So. That's just my, like, outside looking in. That's my opinion, but yeah, if they all went there because they were earning huge money no matter what, more power to them. I hope they get all the money that they deserve.
Right, of course.
But I would like to see them get to, you know, be used to the best of their potential. So, like, you know, I watched all of the G1 this year for New Japan for the first time. I used to just sort of cherry pick matches based on what I heard was great. I need to get up to the Junior Tag League. I haven't yet, but I love New Japan. I wish I watched Ring of Honor more, but yeah.
There you go. This is his favorite recent thing in wrestling.
Yeah, that didn't really answer the question, did it?
Right.
What?
I feel like there might be something within like the last year or so that you've watching wrestling. So you started watching wrestling last year.
Yes.
So what's been a favorite of yours?
Hashtag Team Little Big.
And that was the answer. Everybody knew it. The next question we have it's a bit wordy, so I'll try to get through it. If the people in charge of comic/superhero shows /superhero things could grant you anything, in parentheses, something I somehow would have done, you know, Wonder Twins, February 2019.
Yeah.
Anything like as far as a character change or even a new figure series or a new show, what would you do? So if somebody at some company put you in charge of something related to superheroes, what would you do?
So I was thinking about this when I saw this question. I wish, now that Disney owns Fox, I would have them release like a retro line, like they're doing with the MCU, 10 years of the MCU, of the Fox X-Men stuff.
That's very smart.
I would love to get, because they stopped making X-Men figures after X-Men 3, and then they
ones for Origins.
They made 3 3/4-inch ones for Origins, and there was a Select. There was also a Select for the Wolverine,
right?
And there were Hot
Those
Toys.
Don't count. Those are collectibles.
Yes,
a toy line.
they made Hot Toys for the Wolverine and for Days of Future Past and for Deadpool. I would like to see Marvel Legends of like of the like you could have an Xavier First Class, but he could also come with like a Magneto head. Or it could come like that way you could customize.
Yeah,
it
like the Hydra figure.
Yes,
it's just like the basic body. And so you just put whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, you could even do like replaceable hands and head for Beast. Like that wouldn't be hard if it's just that piece there.
Yeah, like my thought was making an Xavier and then have Magneto from probably Days of Future Past come with a helmeted head, a regular Fassbender head, and also come with like the First Class helmet. Right. So that way you could put him on the Xavier body.
That makes sense, yeah.
I'd have, like, you could also do the same for the suits that they have in Apocalypse. Just make, like, Quicksilver in that or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can swap out the heads. I'd have, like, I would love a Cyclops from the end of Apocalypse in that suit. I'd like a Logan one. I'd like Colossus from Deadpool. Yeah. You would also make a Deadpool one, in theory. Like,
yeah, well, you could do, like, the same way you have the studio series now. You do a 3-pack of Deadpool, Colossus, and Negasonic. And then you do a 2-pack of Logan and Laura. And, it's definitely set up for that, you know?
Like, they were gonna make a Days of Future Past Mystique for Marvel Select.
Yeah.
Like, there's images of that with the rights pending, and then I guess Jennifer Lawrence didn't sign off on it.
Yeah.
So, that would be what I would do, and that's the most selfish thing I would probably do. Otherwise, I'd put myself in charge of the MCU X-Men.
Right.
Yeah.
I would definitely be something toy related for sure. If that's an option, I would definitely do something toy related. I really dig what DC and Mattel are doing right now with the Batman Missions line. Mm-hmm. Which is where we both got our Robin figure from. I would expand that. I would make something like that with that level of articulation and that level of paint and detail for DC Universe characters, all based on that sort of art style. So I would develop a DC Universe based on that version of the DC Universe. So you'd release, Superman and Green Lantern into Justice League and be consistent about it. And try to get as much as possible. It didn't have it so at least you have at least one villain per hero. So if you have a Flash, you have a Captain Cold. If you have a Green Arrow, you've got a Merlin or whoever. Something so that you can have a villain for everybody. Because that always seems to be a case. You get like 50 heroes and you've got 3 villain characters. And you're like, well, what do I do with this now? I would also pack, like, if you have a character that has goons, pack goons in a thing. So you have like a Riddler, a Batman figure, and 2 Riddler goons. Mm-hmm. You have at least enough so you have henchmen for your characters to fight. Because that's always the problem with characters like Stormtroopers or Foot Soldiers or whatever, is you only have one of them. But in your kid mind, you're like, well, there's supposed to be an army of these guys, I gotta have like a whole bunch of them for our heroes to fight. But they, obviously, your parents like, you already have that guy. Yeah. It's like, what's not a guy? It's a many
it's
guy.
It's a part of an army.
Yeah. So I really love the attention to, that's good for collectors like me that like toys in my toy collecting. And it's good for kids too. So I would really focus on that line and maybe develop it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Outside of giving us classic Harley bag, change DC's animation for their movies.
That's completely fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would put myself, I wouldn't say like art director or whatever, but just make them go back to adapting like the comics art. Because even if I don't like the comics art, I still appreciate that they do it.
It gives it purpose as to why it may look that way.
Yeah. And just basically change the animation style, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. You guys can do everything else. Just put me in charge of animation.
I just want it to look nice.
Yeah.
Make it look pretty.
The last question from Cody is, in a Pokemon mood, so who is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh character? I've always had a soft spot for like Seto Kaiba. He's the rich asshole character who can afford to have the best cards and everything is his way, and he's just so mean. I mean, it's ridiculous. For an orphan, he's one of the meanest people I've ever seen in a cartoon.
He's bitter at the world.
And he's got a soft spot for his younger brother,
Yes.
which is really great. He's got hair. It's like a mullet that turns into a point in the back. And Joey's obviously really great. He's got that stupid accent. Yeah, I think those would Kaiba and Joey are some of my favorites. I'd say.
I barely remember Yu-Gi-Oh, but I did really like Joey. I also was a big fan of the Flaming Swordsman card. So when he said that was his favorite, I was like, oh, that's my favorite too. So I felt more of a connection to him. But I don't remember a ton of that show, but I did like Joey.
And you like Merrick.
What? Dark Magician Girl.
Your favorite character, Dark Magician Girl.
Yes.
It's got a great design. I like the blue and pink, very sort of cotton candy, bubblegum feel to it.
That and from Jaden?
Jaden Yuki from GX?
Yes. It still counts as a Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's just not many people would agree with you on that statement.
It's fine. He's one of the only ones of that character type that I actually do like.
So Chumley from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is the character that she really is attuned to.
Chumbawamba.
No.
Oh.
You say Fudo?
Yes.
Anyways, next.
I was just going to say, did you play the card game as a kid? Or... Yeah. No, so
I because the show is based on the card game, unlike Pokemon, I learned the crap out of that card game.
Yeah.
I had a denim jacket with multiple pockets in it that each had a deck inside of it, like Bandit Keith. I had type decks depending on who I was ready to be dueling against. I had a dual disc. I was Yu-Gi for Halloween one year.
Yeah.
4th grade was Yu-Gi-Oh! For me. I was obsessed with it to the point where my mom was like, "You're done."
Yeah, I guess I had a similar... it was the most popular thing at school at one point. And... Pokemon cards never were that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was it, and...
I wrote my own fanfic when 4th grade. Before fanfic was a thing, I wrote out a fictional, storyline tournament. I made my own cards. I had a binder full of my fictional cards I would add into the game.
I regret asking this.
It was popular,
yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny, I do remember... there being, at assemblies at school, an announcement being made about, I'm not saying fights broke out because of it. There wasn't, fist fights.
Right.
I did not go to a school like that.
Aggression.
I had a very tame school experience. But, I do remember, arguments and people getting in trouble or stealing cards or whatever. I remember there being the assembly of, we're going to ban Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards if this continues. And...
Put them away during class, don't run out here.
So I do recall that. But, yeah, I remember, having my card game, my cards and things like that. And at one point, asking my mum for more. And she's like, these are too expensive for little pieces of cardboard. And, I learned a valuable lesson about financial control at a young age.
There you go.
It's funny, they were banned at my school too. And
Really?
where I was the youngest of 3 children, my brother had them.
Yeah.
And then my mom was like, I don't want to buy these for 2 kids. You guys just share.
Yeah.
So my brother was like, here, you can have all these crappy cards. Now let's battle. I was like, or let's duel.
Yeah.
Like a Pokemon. He did the same thing with Pokemon too. I was like, I can't win! You give me all the crap!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's Yu-Gi-Oh! Thanks for that comment. Last set of questions. We're on our final group. We have our good buddy, Sam, from Sam's channel. A channel that has been dead for several.
Jesus.
Rip.
When's the last video you made, Sam? When are you making more content? Listen, I know you're a boy with making actual movies and whatnot.
We've talked about something.
But the last thing you put out was when we were on, and that was in February. So hop to it.
Was it the Spider-Man one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that. Anyways,
didn't that go over well?
Friend of the show, Sam asks, what's more annoying to you guys? Fans complaining on Twitter or people complaining on Twitter about fans complaining on Twitter?
And he says, I know which one I'd choose, right?
I know which I'd pick.
Yeah.
XX.
Yeah, the latter.
It's because I see more of it. I feel it gets to a point where there's going to be a trending piece of story, and then all I see are the people responding to the responses to it, as if it was preemptive, as if it was saved as a draft on their phone, and they assumed that hatred was going to spew from this, and so they immediately were like, well, that's not how I feel.
Yeah.
These people are ridiculous, and that's something that I've seen a lot of Sam has been trying to get across to people, is if we treat certain criticism as if it's genuine as the others, then we lose what the actual criticism is.
Yeah.
For example, if you don't like certain movies because of actual reasons, you get lumped in with people that don't like the movie for bad reasons.
Yes.
And I get that a lot.
You just hate The Last Jedi because
you don't like Rose Tico. It's like, nothing against Kelly Marie Tran. She's an actress. She's a fine person. She seems like like I said, very nice.
She's a person hired to do a job. If she
didn't
play her, someone else would have.
Exactly. It doesn't matter in that regard. The movie's going to get made either way. And so people come at you like, oh, the only reason you didn't do this is because of this. It's like, no, that's stopping us from having legitimate conversations about stories, about these things, about issues, about whatever, because it's all lumped together, and that's where it becomes a problem, is people complaining before I even see the initial complaining.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. And now I'm complaining about the complainers complaining.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
Ridiculous.
For example, talking about Venom, right? I didn't like the film, but like I said, it's not like I don't hate this film. It's not, to say I dislike it in a way is almost too harsh. It exists and I didn't really care for it and I moved on immediately.
Where's the energy to hate it?
Yeah.
You just have to let it go.
Yeah, so, when I see people constantly defending it, Rotten Tomatoes don't know what they're talking about. That's one I see all the time that just shits me to tears.
The critics are wrong. I stand against the critics.
Yeah.
If you agree, stand against the critics.
And I love the idea of Rotten Tomatoes got it wrong. We still haven't figured out.
They got it wrong.
Rotten Tomatoes are not the ones that review it themselves.
Yeah, as if it's a person.
Yeah,
it's not a collective. It's not an average. Or how that works.
So, they're literally just providing a service. You want to know what the average of all the critics say? This is it. They're like, oh, Rotten Tomatoes, stop that. You're ruining the film.
And Hollywood is even pushing that further, because they'll slap it on the DVD cover. Certified fresh.
The first time I ever saw that was X-Men First Class.
Yes, absolutely.
And I saw it and I laughed. I was like, what the fuck is this? This means anything? That's why you put the quotes on the back. It was, a triumph. That's my favorite. Batman Forever was a triumph. And it's that was the Batman movie that was cancelled. So... That things like that, that's as old as time. People have been doing that to advertise movies.
Sure, whatever to sell a film.
Sure. To say, because it's in a TV spot for something at the moment where it's 93% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, it's every TV spot.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Every TV spot is now just let's see how high it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, what is funny though is because they will announce it. They announced it for Venom, and they do the classic of tick, 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 and then it went 30.
Yeah. Whoops. So, yeah, it's things like that. Or, when people show what the critic rating is and what the fan rating is, whether it's positive or negative, either side, it'll be oh, look at the crappy critic score versus the fan score. Or look at how high the critic score is and, the fan score is low. That's where it really is.
Last Jedi. Last Jedi has high critic, low fan. It's clearly the fans.
Yeah.
That's what you believe. Venom, a high fan, low critic.
Justice League. Justice League had a high fan score, which was because what that is, and this is, once again, off on a little bit of a tangent, but when I was in film school, I had this conversation with a teacher, and he said something about Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb scores.
Right.
And I was like, so which would you rather, trust? Is it the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is the average of people who are paid to have an opinion, or IMDb, the people who...
Anyone with internet access.
Anyone with internet, but people who want to put their rating there, right? They're not paid to do it, they're not seeing it because they have to, which, someone who has no interest in seeing, a Star Wars film can see it and hate it, even if they don't like Star Wars to begin with.
Right.
But if someone goes on to IMDb, they're putting their score there because they feel like they want to.
Right.
And he said, well, you can see a film and love it, and go 10 out of 10 and rate it 10. And then like 5 months later, you can be like, oh, that's not really a 10.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then you have the people who are like, I'm going to show the critics, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. And that's what happens on Rotten Tomatoes now with the audience score. So it's one of those...
Well, movies will get sabotaged as well. People will go into a movie before it even comes out, like an adaptation of something.
Yes.
And they'll immediately downvote it because it's like, well, I don't want this to look like it's doing well.
Yeah.
People went into Solo wanting to hate Solo.
Yes.
And it's like, it's actually pretty fine. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
So I find that interesting. But yeah, absolutely. Like people complaining about films, you know, it can be annoying, especially if you like it. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, can we move on? Like I feel that sometimes, but when it's constantly complaining about people having opinions, that's where it's like, okay, everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you disagree, you move on. Yeah. To constantly talk about people are wrong, like that bugs me a bit.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between having a conversation and having opinions and just flat out yelling.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Well, that was it. We did it.
Okay. Bye.
So, guys, I hope you really enjoyed it. I know it is long, but hopefully that's what you guys wanted, since you guys don't get a whole lot of this.
Yeah, it's long because we don't get to do this so often. So,
a lot of talking, a lot of discussing. Ray, I want to thank you for joining us as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's good to have some female input, and it's good to have you here as well.
Yay.
So that's great, guys. Just nothing else to say. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.